Phoenix Nights. Chapter 2183. The great desolate god ape was extremely shocked. To think that the physical body state of a human would be strong enough to fight against him. This was the first time he had come across something like this. Especially since this human had yet to turn into a true saint. In other words, to think that a human who wasn't even a saint would possess a physique that was as strong as a saint's. Even in the ancient times where powerful beings were everywhere, an existence like this was extremely rare. Even when the supreme beings were young, they wouldn't have been able to match up to him. To think that this human would be able to fight against a young supreme being. The great desolate god ape was shocked by this thought of his. This wasn't a good thing for him at all. With an opponent as such, he wouldn't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Strong opponents should be eliminated while they were still budding. The killing intent of the great desolate god ape was extremely strong. The temperature around him was dropping rapidly. Kill! The great desolate god ape headed towards Gu Fei. Step by step, every single step he took caused the entire world to tremble. An extremely strong aura spread out from his body. This, Yao Yu and the others, who had long retreated far into the sky, were extremely shocked. This strong aura of a saint was unbearable for them. They had no choice but to retreat again and again until they were thousands of miles away. What's going on? Just then, Gu Zhong rushed over from the distance. He did not subdue that tiger. The moment he sensed the aura of Gu Fei, he rushed back immediately. Nothing much. This old monkey wants to eat our master, Yao Yu said. What? The moment Gu Zhong heard this, his mouth opened wide. He was extremely shocked. This old monkey must have eaten the guts of a leopard. To think that he would dare to eat his master. Gu Fei's strength was something that no one knew better than Gu Zhong. Right now, Gu Fei was extremely close to becoming a saint. His physique was so strong that he could even fight against a Khanate god beast. Khanate god beast. That was a god beast that was born from chaos and was extremely strong. The moment it was born, the weather would change and it could even hunt down immortals and gods. This old monkey is courting death, Gu Zhong said. At this moment, Gu Fei and the great desolate god ape clashed once more. Waving their hands, Tao patterns shot out from the hands of these two powerful beings. Turning into destructive powers, they struck out at the other party. You are very strong, but unfortunately you met me. The great desolate divine ape's body was surrounded by Tao patterns and a powerful sage aura was spreading out. Around his body, pitch-black space cracks kept appearing. It was as if this part of the world could no longer contain the extremely powerful physical body of the divine ape. With just a lift of its hand, the divine ape could shatter the void and tear the world apart. This was the sacred body, the true sacred body. Its power was far beyond everyone's expectations. Even if it did not use the power of the Great Way, the great desolate divine ape could kill all opponents below the sage level with its physical strength alone. Boom! The great desolate divine ape punched out. The space in front of his fist shattered instantly, turning into a destructive storm that swept towards Gu Fei. Roar! Gu Fei bellowed, and a shocking power erupted from his body. The void around him was like a transparent wave, with ripples spreading out in all directions. Chaotic Fist! Gu Fei displayed his strongest combat skill and threw out a chaotic fist. The ferocious chaotic energy turned into a torrent, heading towards the destructive power. Virum! Two powerful forces collided with each other. Two fists also collided with each other. An extremely powerful force exploded, causing the void to tremble. Boom! When the two forces exploded, Gu Fei was forced to take a dozen steps back. Many cracks appeared on his right fist and blood seeped out from them. As for the great desolate divine ape, he only took 5 to 6 steps back. From this, it could be seen that the great desolate divine ape's physical body was still slightly stronger than Gu Fei's martial body. I can't let you live! The great desolate divine ape flipped his right hand and a long rod appeared in his hand. It was a 6-jang long bronze rod. The moment the divine ape held the rod, there were faint Tao patterns appearing on the bronze rod. Who? The great desolate divine ape raised the rod and smashed it towards Gu Fei's head. Wherever the rod passed, the void would ripple. Even an immortal Venerable would be badly injured if he was hit by the rod. Swoosh! Gu Fei took a step to the side and disappeared in an instant. The staff hit nothing but empty air. It didn't seem to be affected by any force at all. Die! Gu Fei used his right hand to slash at the great desolate divine ape's neck. There were flickering Tao patterns on his palm. The edge of his palm was even sharper than divine weapons. This slash was extremely fast. However, the great desolate divine ape wasn't one to be trifled with. Just as Gu Fei's palm was about to hit the great desolate divine ape's neck, the great desolate divine ape moved sideways and dodged the attack. Hu! The great desolate divine ape swung the bronze rod towards Gu Fei's waist. A powerful gust of wind swept across, uprooting the trees on the ground and tossing them into the sky. Gu Fei executed the 8 desolation steps and soared into the sky, dodging the attack. Then, he took a step towards the great desolate divine ape. An extremely violent force was generated under his feet. This was the 8 steps 8 kill technique. Humph! The great desolate divine ape harumphed coldly. He then raised the bronze rod in his hand and thrust it towards the bottom of Gu Fei's right foot, trying to pierce through Gu Fei's right leg. Bam! Gu Fei's foot landed on the bronze rod. The powerful force caused the great desolate divine ape's hands to go numb. He couldn't even hold the bronze rod anymore. Eat another one of my kicks! Gu Fei yelled. At this moment, his left leg had already executed the second step of the 8 kill steps. A destructive force surged and black lightning appeared under his feet. You! The great desolate divine ape's expression changed. This person was hard to deal with. No wonder this bunch of people didn't seem to be afraid of anything when they met him. Even now, they were still the same. It turned out that this group of people actually had such a powerful human behind them. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The great desolate divine ape was stomped down from the sky by Gu Fei's foot. Like a meteorite, it smashed onto the ground, creating a huge crater. Roar! The great desolate divine ape was about to go crazy. He roared into the sky. To think that he would be suppressed by a human who wasn't even a saint. This was something that he couldn't accept. You deserve to die. The great desolate divine ape rushed out from the crater on the ground. His eyes shone with a murderous light. Both of his hands moved in front of him, and 9 Tao patterns appeared around him. Suppress. Chapter 2184. The great desolate deity ape struck out forcefully. 9 primordial Tao patterns shot out from both of his hands. Every single Tao pattern radiated with a dazzling light, causing the spiritual chi of heaven and earth to gather over. This was the skill of a sacred beast. It had already cultivated its own 9 Tao patterns. Of course, the great desolate deity ape's attainments in the 9 Tao patterns were far from human Emperor Jiangxian's. Otherwise, the great desolate deity ape could have killed Gu Fei countless times with a single strike. The 9 Tao patterns shot towards Gu Fei, locking down the space where Gu Fei was at. The entire space instantly turned into an invisible cage, sealing off all of Gu Fei's escape routes. The 9 Tao patterns imprinted themselves on the space around Gu Fei, forming a destructive force that struck towards Gu Fei from all directions. The space was being destroyed silently. It was extremely terrifying. Humph! Gu Fei laughed coldly. His body jerked and 9 primordial Tao patterns shot out from his body. The 9 primordial Tao patterns imprinted themselves around his body, blocking off the destructive force. This is... The great desolate deity ape's face turned extremely solemn. To think that his opponent had also comprehended 9 primordial Tao patterns. However, what shocked him the most was that his opponent had yet to become a saint. Of course, his 9 Tao patterns had yet to take form. However, he was probably not far from it. The 9 primordial Tao patterns were very clear and contained a strong aura of the Saint Tao. Humph, since your understanding of the Tao is so deep, all the more reason why I can't let you live. The great desolate deity ape could sense immense pressure from Gu Fei. He could tell that this human had immense potential. If he were to let him grow, it would definitely not be a good thing for the great desolate deity ape. Trying to kill me? Do you think that you are a golden spirit ape? Gu-Fei said coldly. The 9 primordial Tao patterns around him blocked off all the destructive force. Even someone as strong as the great desolate deity ape couldn't do anything to him in a short period of time. There are no more golden spirit apes in the human world. There is only me, the Tongbi divine ape. As the great desolate divine ape spoke, the power of the great path emanating from the 9 Tao patterns became even stronger. The void that was sealed by the 9 Tao patterns of the great desolate divine ape looked as though a chaotic world was evolving. The Tongbi divine ape was one of the 4 great apes. Its bloodline was heaven-defying, especially the Tongbi divine ape. A complete Tongbi divine ape could take the sun and the moon, shrink mountains and possess unparalleled skills. The great desolate deity ape wasn't a pure-blooded Tongbi divine ape either. He was merely a descendant of the Tongbi ape. If this great desolate deity ape was a pure-blooded divine ape, then Gu ape would definitely be. Just like the Tongbi divine ape, the golden spiritual ape was also a powerful innate being born from the primordial chaos. However, only the golden spiritual ape lineage had produced a paragon. Divine ape divine ape races deity even. But spirit ape of a desolate deity beast. Was. At this moment, the great desolate divine ape unleashed its full power. It wanted to use the 9 primordial Tao patterns to destroy Gu Chong and destroy his body and soul. However, Gu-Fei wasn't an ordinary great completion quasi-saint. He was a powerful existence that was infinitely close to the saint level. He had also comprehended 9 Taoist patterns. Although the 9 Taoist patterns weren't fully formed, the energy ripples that were released from the 9 Taoist patterns were comparable to the 9 Taoist patterns of the great desolate divine ape. Is the Tongbi divine ape very powerful? Never heard of it. Gu-Fei shook his head in disdain. You! The great desolate divine ape was infuriated. This guy was too hateful and deserved to die. Kill! The 9 Tao patterns shot out by the great desolate god ape shone with dazzling light. They gathered the power of the great Tao and suppressed everything, forcing Gu-Fei's 9 Tao patterns to retreat. Humph! Just as the great desolate divine ape thought that its opponent was about to be crushed to death, the opponent snorted coldly and revealed a cruel smile. This is bad. The great desolate divine ape sensed that something was amiss. Just at this moment, Gu-Fei's body suddenly exploded with a peerless energy ripple. Boom! Boundless chaotic true force exploded from within Gu-Fei's body like a volcano erupting. It was unstoppable, and the 9 Taoist patterns shone with the brightest light. The power from Gu-Fei's 9 Taoist patterns instantly increased by more than 10 folds. The great desolate divine ape's 9 Taoist patterns couldn't suppress such a violent power. The great desolate divine ape's 9 Taoist patterns were blown away. He suffered a huge impact as he coughed out a mouthful of blood and staggered back 7 to 8 steps. What's going on? How is this possible? The great desolate divine ape's shock was no small matter. The other party's body had actually erupted with such a power, which was at least 10 times stronger than the other party's original power. What kind of secret technique was this? It could actually raise this guy's strength to such a level. The great desolate divine ape was shocked to the extreme. The opponent's body exploded with such a violent power that it was blown away. This was definitely something unimaginable. The great desolate divine ape, who possessed a saint physique, was blown away by an ant. This made the great desolate divine ape extremely angry. It couldn't accept this reality. Didn't you want to eat me? Gu-Fei's voice was emotionless. It was so calm that it made one's heart palpitate. He took a step forward and chased after the great desolate divine ape. Pun! Gotcha! Gu-Fei's fist blossomed with Taoist patterns as it landed on the great desolate divine ape's chest. The sound of bones breaking could be heard from the great desolate divine ape's body. Even with a saint physique, it was still injured by Gu-Fei's punch. A fist mark was left on the great desolate divine ape's chest. The fist mark had sunk deep into the muscles and there were vague Taoist patterns on the fist mark. Damned ant! After being hit by Gu Fei's punch, the great desolate divine ape was sent flying hundreds of thousands of zhang away like a divine rainbow, smashing into a mountain peak. Rumble! The mountain collapsed and the earth shook. At the same time, a torrential purple chi rushed out of the dust. Within the purple chi, an incomparably huge image of a divine ape appeared. Within the purple chi, the giant ape roared at the sky. Around the giant ape, there seemed to be countless stars falling. This is... Gu Fei couldn't help being startled. He knew that this was a kind of illusion formed by the great desolate divine ape's bloodline power. The giant ape in the middle of the monstrous purple aura should be the legendary Tongbi divine ape, one of the 4 divine apes of ancient times. It seems that this divine ape's supreme divine ability to take the sun and the moon and shrink 1,000 mountains is not a lie. It's even more powerful. Chapter 2185. Gu Fei was unstoppable as he sent the great desolate celestial ape flying with a single punch. Roar! The great desolate celestial ape roared in anger. Its powerful aura spread in all directions. All the strong living beings nearby retreated quickly. All of them could feel the danger. As the descendant of the long-by celestial ape, the great desolate celestial ape's bloodline was no longer pure. However, it was still terrifying. Kill! Purple chi filled the air. The great desolate celestial ape unlocked the first layer of seal on its body. A strong sealing energy exploded from its body. Within the purple chi, one could vaguely see the legendary long-by celestial ape. The bloodline of the great desolate celestial ape was extremely strong. The bloodline power within the great desolate celestial ape had been activated. It was the bloodline power of the legends that reappeared on the great desolate celestial ape. That was why the purple chi appeared. Rumble! A giant hand reached out from the endless purple chi. It covered the entire sky and sealed the space, trapping Gu Fei underneath it. On the giant hand, Tao patterns were faintly visible, emitting an extremely strong aura. Gu Fei immediately punched upwards. His entire right fist was covered in a vast and mighty chaotic aura. Streaks of chaotic Tao patterns appeared on his fist as he activated the power of the Great Path. Boom! With a loud bang, Gu Fei's fist collided with the huge hand that was grabbing down from the sky. Countless Tao patterns dissipated in the void and vanished. The great desolate celestial ape's attack had the power to take down the sun and moon. However, it was blocked by Gu Fei. Shwa! The space in front of Gu Fei suddenly twisted. A silhouette appeared out of nowhere. A sharp claw was aimed at Gu Fei's heart. So fast! Gu Fei's shock was no small matter. Li! A soft sound rang out. Even though Gu Fei's reaction was fast enough, the clothes on his chest were torn apart, leaving 5 bloody wounds on his chest that were oozing blood. This? Gu Fei used the 8 desolate steps and moved quickly in the air. However, the divine ape followed him like a shadow, moving at a speed that was not inferior to Gu Fei. Little ant, you've angered me. The great desolate god ape's voice was cold and filled with killing intent. After unlocking the first layer of the seal on his body, his speed and power had reached a certain limit. Hey! Another soft sound rang out. The great desolate godly ape's sharp claws swept past Gu Fei's shoulder, directly tearing off a large piece of his clothes, causing Gu Fei to be incomparably shocked. Chaotic rebellion! Gu Fei roared and suddenly stopped. Then, a strange energy spread out from his body, causing visible ripples to appear in the space around him. Shwa! The great desolate divine ape's sharp claws directly pierced into the layer of distorted space around Gu Fei. Then, his right claw seemed to be reversed in an instant as it clawed towards Gu Fei. What? Seeing this, the great desolate divine ape was taken aback. To think that his opponent could reverse his attack. This was unbelievable. To think that such a heaven-defying secret technique existed in this world. The 9 secrets of immortal Tao had been incomplete since the ancient times. Even the immortal reverends of Taoism couldn't master the complete 9 secrets. The moment his attack was reversed, the great desolate divine ape's hair stood on end. His scalp went numb as he felt a great sense of danger. Gu Fei took a step forward and punched towards the great desolate divine ape. Just as the great desolate divine ape was about to dodge, he felt an extremely powerful energy wave behind him. Boom! An extremely violent energy was released. An incomparably powerful figure appeared behind the great desolate divine ape out of nowhere, and punched towards the great desolate divine ape as well. How is this possible? The great desolate divine ape was shocked. He could feel that the energy wave behind him was exactly the same as Gu Fei's energy wave. It was as though there were two Gu Feis attacking the great desolate divine ape at the same time. Rumble! Just as the great desolate celestial ape was in disbelief, the void above its head suddenly vibrated. It raised its head and its pupils shrank. Suddenly, another Gu Fei had appeared in the sky. This Gu Fei was currently stomping down on him. Destructive energy surged beneath his feet. 3. The great desolate divine ape was dumbfounded. There were actually 3 Gu Feis. Could this human really have obtained the secret technique created by that legendary man? Without any suspense, under the full force of the 3 Gu Feis, the great desolate divine ape was sent flying while spitting out blood. How is this possible? The secret technique displayed by the other party was way too shocking. The great desolate divine ape was in disbelief. At this time, the Earth Immortal Elder who was watching the battle was also shocked to the extreme. Could it be that Gu Fei had really mastered the legendary supreme technique? The demonic old man couldn't be compared to the great desolate divine ape. One must know that the South Pole Immortal Manor was a legacy of the Immortal Tao. No one knew the 9 secrets of the Immortal Tao better than them. The secret technique that Gu Fei had just displayed should be the legendary 3 Pure Ones. And Gu Fei's battle prowess had suddenly increased by more than 10 times. This should be the result of him using the Heaven Ascension secret technique. This was way too shocking. To think that 2 of the 9 secrets of the Immortal Tao would appear on a single person. The battle between Gu Fei and the great desolate divine ape had shaken many people. Who is that man fighting the great desolate divine ape? Someone whispered. That man looks familiar. But I can't recall where I've seen him before. Someone seemed to have seen Gu Fei before. This was not surprising, as Gu Fei had made a name for himself on Ancestral Star Buzhou. Few cultivators on Ancestral Star Buzhou did not know of his existence. Kill. Gu Fei displayed the Heaven Ascension secret technique and transformed into the 3 Pure Ones. The 3 Tao bodies emitted peerless waves of energy as they charged at the great desolate divine ape. Without any suspense, the great desolate divine ape was completely suppressed by Gu Fei. In the end, Gu Fei tore off its left arm and fled into the chaos well. Only one arm, but it's not bad. After Gu Fei defeated the great desolate divine ape, the sacred beast with a sacred body had to flee into the chaos well at the last moment. However, Gu Fei was not in a hurry to chase after the great desolate divine ape. He took out a huge cauldron, started a fire, and threw the arm of the great desolate divine ape into the cauldron to cook. That was a sacred body, and the arm contained a powerful sacred divine essence. It was definitely a rare medicine. Gu Fei would not waste it, as it would be of great benefit to him. Chapter 2186. The flesh and blood of a sacred-level divine beast contained a large amount of spiritual qi. This spiritual qi was a peerless divine medicine for all cultivators. Consuming it could increase one's cultivation. Gu Fei really set up the cauldron and started a fire. He threw the arm that he had torn off from the great desolate divine ape into the cauldron and prepared to cook a cauldron full of medicine. Master this! At this moment, Gu Zhong and the others walked over and were dumbfounded by the scene. You're in luck, Gu Fei said. Then, he guided the divine spring of life from his inner world into the cauldron. The cauldron immediately emitted a divine radiance. A meaty aroma mixed with a medicinal aroma wafted out of the cauldron, causing one's spirit to be refreshed upon smelling it. This is like a dream, Zhong Limeng murmured. Zhong Limeng muttered to herself. Gu Fei was actually cooking the flesh of a saint-ranked divine beast, and this was truly too shocking to her. After all, saint-rank existences were practically invincible even during the ancient times. Even in the current era, these powerful sacred-level existences had to seal themselves. However, these divine beasts still had their immortal bodies. If it was an ordinary person, even if they had a divine weapon, it would be absolutely impossible to hurt the body of a sacred-level divine beast, let alone to kill it and cook it into soup. While everyone was shocked, they also had a new understanding of Gu Fei's combat strength. After 10 years of meditation, Gu Fei had become even more powerful. He could now fight against a sealed divine beast. Rumble! In the distant valley, the Chaos Well was absorbing the Chaos Chi. The great desolate divine ape had escaped into the Chaos Well, but no one knew whether it was dead or alive. Tai Shui Taoists could see that the Chaos Well was a passage, but no one knew where it led to. The human race experts nearby were watching. In their opinion, Gu Fei was too ferocious. He actually defeated the divine beast, and now wanted to eat its flesh. In the distant past, the human race was incomparably weak and became the food of those powerful divine beasts. But now, everything had been reversed. The human race was extremely powerful. The supremes of the human race could even hunt down the most powerful heavenly beasts born from the primal chaos. Roar! At that moment, a series of roars came from within the cauldron, and a purple divine ape rushed out of the cauldron. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws above the mouth of the cauldron, as if it wanted to pounce on the people around it. This is the bloodline power of the Tongbi divine ape. The Iron Blood Taoist was shocked. It was just an arm, but it contained the essence of the Tongbi godly ape. This great desolate godly ape was truly extraordinary. At the very least, the divine ape had successfully awakened the Tongbi divine ape's bloodline. The bloodline of the innate divine beasts born from the chaos was extremely powerful. Every few generations, the descendants of these divine beasts would show signs of atavism. The shadow of the purple godly ape quickly dissipated, turning into specks of pure energy that fell into the cauldron. Everyone was dumbfounded. This cauldron's precious liquid was definitely extraordinary. Other than Du Zhong and the others, even the human race cultivators in the distance were extremely jealous. However, no one dared to act rashly. It should be known that even the overlord of the wasteland, the great desolate godly ape, was no match for that person. No one dared to joke around with their lives. 6 hours later, the divine fire below the cauldron began to extinguish. The cauldron flickered with divine light, as if it was nurturing a huge life. This cauldron of precious medicine was truly astonishing. Tao patterns appeared on the mouth of the cauldron from time to time. Those were the most primitive Tao patterns formed by the vast spiritual energy within the cauldron. Done! Gu Fei, who was sitting in front of the cauldron, stood up. Master! Gu Zhong, Yao Yu, and old Xiao rushed up immediately. Master! The Iron Blood Taoist and the 12 bandits hurried over as well. Even he was jealous of this cauldron of precious medicine. It should be known that this medicine was made from the spring water of the divine spring of life and the flesh and blood of divine beasts. If an ordinary cultivator were to obtain a single drop of it, they would be able to undergo a complete transformation. Come, all of you will have a share. Gu Fei greeted everyone. Of course, he was referring to Gu Zhong and the 12 bandits. As for the outsiders, they could only watch from afar and couldn't get close. This cauldron of precious medicine was prepared by Gu Fei for everyone. At his level of cultivation, precious medicine was no longer of any use to him. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Gu Zhong and the others were extremely excited. Then, Gu Zhong impatiently reached his head into the cauldron and drank a large mouthful of the precious liquid. It was a type of purple liquid that was flowing with spiritual light. Wow! After drinking a large mouthful of the precious liquid, Gu Zhong immediately jumped up and spat out a cloud of purple light. Then, his entire body began to emit a purple spiritual light. An enormous amount of psionic energy spread out in his body, making him feel as if his entire body was expanding at a rapid pace. The medicinal effect is too strong. Gu Zhong couldn't care so much. He directly sat on the ground and activated his mysterious technique to refine the spiritual energy that was still increasing in his body. When everyone saw this scene, they couldn't help but be surprised and happy. The medicinal effect of the precious liquid was indeed extraordinary. Even Gu Zhong, a seventh heaven almighty emperor, couldn't take it after drinking a mouthful. Gu Zhong's martial body had been tempered by the sacred blood and was extremely powerful. That was why his body did not explode from the newly born spiritual energy in his body. If it was an ordinary cultivator at the seventh firmament, their body would have long exploded from the energy of the precious liquid. Their body and soul would have been destroyed. Seeing that Gu Zhong's entire body was steaming, everyone couldn't help but be cautious. One must know that among everyone present, only the iron blood Taoist's immortal phoenix body could be compared to Gu Zhong's martial body. The physical bodies of the others couldn't compare to those two. Yao Yu and Zhong Li Meng only dared to drink a few drops of the precious liquid before activating their mysterious technique to refine the new spiritual energy in their bodies. Only the iron blood Taoist drank 2 mouthfuls of the precious liquid and retreated to the side to refine the medicinal effect in his body. In an instant there were more than 10 people sitting around the large cauldron with purple aura faintly surrounding them. The other human clan cultivators in the distance were all extremely envious. The precious liquid in the cauldron was definitely a priceless treasure. Although the medicinal effect of the precious liquid in the cauldron was not as good as the legendary immortal divine medicine, it was still enough to shock the world. This was because the precious liquid in the cauldron was brewed from the flesh and blood of holy beasts. Gu Fei's disciples were undoubtedly extremely lucky. They met a master like Gu Fei who could obtain divine blood for them to temper their martial bodies. He could also obtain the flesh and blood of holy beasts to boil into the precious liquid for them to consume. Gu Zhong, Yao Yu, Old Jiao, and the others were able to improve their cultivation level in such a short period of time. Half of it was the result of their hard work, and the other half was the result of Gu Fei providing them with a large amount of cultivation resources. Chapter 2187. The news of Gu Fei defeating the great desolate divine ape quickly spread throughout the entire third stage of the ancient road of the human race. 10 years ago, the third stage of the human race's ancient road of the human race was still a barren wasteland. Today, 10 years later, the third stage of the human race's ancient road of the human race had become a settlement for the human race. That person actually defeated the great desolate divine ape. This is unbelievable. Could that person be a sage who sealed himself? In the distance, many human race cultivators were whispering. No one dared to approach Gu Fei. At this time, Gu Fei was surrounded by people with purple qi rising from their bodies. These people emitted powerful life waves. Phew! 2 hours later, Yao Yu was the first to exhale and stand up. As she stood up, a tremor was emitted from her body. Sensing the powerful martial arts power in her body, Yao Yu only felt that her body was filled with power. It was as if she could shatter the world with one punch. Previously, she was still a step away from the almighty emperor realm. Now that she had consumed the precious liquid in the cauldron, she could feel the changes in her body. After refining the new spiritual power, Yao Yu's martial body was undergoing subtle changes. Her martial body was gradually transforming and becoming stronger. Yao Yu had an urge to look up to the sky and roar. She continued to consume the precious liquid in the cauldron. Then, she sat down cross-legged and used her mysterious technique to refine the precious liquid in her body. Just as Yao Yu continued to cultivate, Zhong Li Meng also woke up from her meditation. She had also obtained great benefits, and the vitality in her body was extremely vigorous. Why do I feel that I can break through to the pinnacle of the almighty realm at any time? Zhong Li Meng muttered to herself. The pinnacle of the almighty realm was the cultivation shackle that she had always wanted to break through. In order to break through the limit of her cultivation, she had made all sorts of preparations. She wanted to break through the current cultivation shackle in one go. Hence, she consumed a few more drops of the precious liquid and started to break through the bottleneck of her cultivation. Yao Yu and Zhong Li Meng did not think too much about it and immediately went back to cultivating. The others also woke up from their cultivation. Gu Fei discovered that the first people to wake up were those below the half-sage realm. As for those above the half-sage realm, they still showed no signs of waking up. The iron-blood Taoist, in particular, had the divine sound of the great path emanating from his body. Clearly, he had entered a mysterious state of cultivation and was comprehending the great path. It had to be said that this iron-blood Taoist was truly extraordinary. The power of the phoenix of immortality was faintly discernible on his body, and the red Tao patterns around him kept vanishing. He had already realized his own Tao pattern, and it was a red flame Tao pattern. The iron-blood Taoist was already a great completion quasi-sage. With just one more step, he would be able to reach that realm. However, no one dared to do so in this day and age. Other than the iron-blood Taoist, the leader of the 12 great bandits, Zhuge Liang, also had Tao patterns appearing on his body. He was evolving his own great Tao divine patterns. As for Gu Zhong, the sound of wind and thunder rang out from his body. The blood and qi in his body were vast and mighty. The huge amount of spiritual energy from the medicinal herbs was continuously refined by him into his muscles, bones, flesh, and blood. Golden Tao patterns were imprinted on Gu Zhong's muscles, bones, flesh, and blood. Boundless metal elemental power was surging. Gu Zhong's martial body was the metal elemental martial body of the 5 elements. At this time, as the medicinal herbs continued to be refined, the purple qi on his body gradually weakened, and the golden divine light began to appear. A powerful aura emanated from Gu Zhong's body. This kid did not disappoint me. Gu Fei couldn't help but nod when he saw what was happening to Gu Zhong's body. Gu Zhong's cultivation speed was much faster than his own back then. Of course, such a gap was not strange at all. It wasn't that Gu Zhong's talent was better than Gu Fei's. To a large extent, the reason why Gu Zhong could have his current cultivation and power was because of Gu Fei's support. Gu Fei provided countless cultivation resources for his 3 disciples. One day and one night passed. Many figures sat cross-legged around the cauldron, and each of them emitted an extremely powerful aura. Boom! At this time, Gu Zhong's body emitted an endless golden light. His entire body instantly turned into a dazzling golden sun, making it hard for people to look at him directly. He broke through. Gu Fei had been paying attention to everyone's movements. Almighty 8th heaven, I finally succeeded. Gu Zhong opened his eyes and took a step forward, instantly disappearing from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was already 100 miles away. The people who had been watching from afar were extremely shocked. The waves emitted from Gu Zhong's body were too powerful. The blood in his body flowed rapidly, emitting rumbling sounds. Rumble! When Gu Zhong rushed into the depths of the mountain, the sky rumbled with thunder. Dark clouds of calamity surged up from where Gu Zhong was. How is this possible? He actually triggered the heaven's retribution. Everyone who saw this scene was dumbfounded. This guy had only broken through a small realm, but he could actually trigger the heaven's retribution. Roar! At the same time, Tao patterns also rushed out of the old dragon's body. He roared and flew into the depths of the mountain, where he began to undergo the heaven's retribution. With the help of the elixir, he finally broke through the limit, broke through the shackles, and successfully broke through to the half-saint realm. The half-saint retribution was incomparably vast. The old dragon's roar came from the depths of the mountain. The entire heaven and earth felt incomparably oppressive, as if a mountain was pressing down on their hearts. No one dared to watch this great heaven's retribution. If they were not careful, they might be contaminated by the power of the retribution. That would be a tragedy. With the help of the elixir, some of the 12 bandits also broke through the shackles of cultivation and became extremely powerful. The cultivation and strength of Gu Fei's subordinates were increasing rapidly. To Gu Fei, this was definitely a good thing. These people would definitely conquer the world for him in the future. To his own people, Gu Fei had always been generous. After Gu Zhong and the old dragon's retribution, Gu Zhong was still fine. After all, his physical body was extremely strong. This level of heaven's retribution was still bearable for him. However, Compared to Gu Zhongzi's, the old dragon had experienced a terrifying heaven's retribution. The half-saint retribution almost destroyed his soul. However, in the end, the old dragon endured it. On the third day, everyone stopped cultivating. The cauldron of elixir had only consumed a small part of it. Most of the elixir had been kept by Gu Fei. The chaos well was still absorbing the chaos qi. Where does this tunnel lead to? Gu Fei and the others came near the chaos well. The great desolate divine ape had escaped into the chaos well. No one knew whether it was dead or alive. No one knew what was in the chaos well. I'll go in and have a look. You guys wait outside. Gu Fei stared at the chaos well for a while before saying this. What? Chapter 2188. Everyone was shocked to hear that Gu Fei wanted to enter the chaos well. One had to know that no one knew what was at the bottom of the chaos well. The great desolate divine ape had been forced into the well by Gu Fei. If it had a choice, it wouldn't have entered the chaos well so recklessly. All of you wait outside. I believe no one will make things difficult for you. As Gu Fei spoke, he raised his head and glanced at the distant sky. There was a divine island floating high up in the sky, radiating a myriad of rays of light and 1,000 strands of auspicious qi. Yes, master. Yes, master. Everyone hurried to answer. Gu Fei took a step forward and entered the valley in front of him. He then entered the chaos well without hesitation. This Gu Fei. In the distant sky, the Earth Immortal Elder could not help but frown when he saw this scene with the mystic light technique. He had wanted to see Gu Fei previously for this matter. The Chaos Well was connected to a very dangerous place in the legends. Earth Immortal Father had sent many people into the Chaos Well. There was no lack of Immortal Tao experts among them. There was even an Immortal Path half-saint who entered the Chaos Well. However, none of them had returned. Even a half-saint had fallen there. This made Earth Immortal Father even more curious. Just what kind of place existed in the legends? He couldn't sit still when he saw the great desolate divine ape and Gu Fei enter the Chaos Well one after the other. Why aren't Big Brother's people here yet? Earth Immortal Father wanted to join forces with Gu Fei to explore the place, but the other party ignored him. He could only wait for the South Pole Immortal Sovereign's experts to arrive first. The South Pole Immortal Mansion had a very deep foundation. Although they had a high status, no one dared to look down on them. After Gu Fei entered the Chaos Well, Gu Zhong and the others found a nearby valley full of vitality, and settled down for the time being. They had just eaten a treasure medicine made from the flesh of a saint beast. Their cultivation and strength had increased significantly, so they needed some time to consolidate. Roar! Just as Gu Zhong and the rest settled down in the valley, an earth-shattering roar rang out from outside the valley. A pitch-black giant beast the size of a small mountain appeared at the entrance of the valley. An incomparably fierce, baleful aura surged into the valley from the outside. Where did this evil creature come from? The hot-tempered bearded man among the 12 great bandits immediately shouted. Then, he strode out of the valley with 2 axes in his hands. As soon as Gu Fei entered the Chaos Well, a powerful savage beast came knocking on his door. This caused Gu Zhong and the others to be extremely shocked and furious. These fellows were truly tired of living. Could it be that these fellows knew that their master had just defeated the most powerful savage beast in the Great Desolate? A great battle broke out. The bearded man with 2 axes in his hands was the giant spirit battle king of the 12 great bandits. His arms had divine power, and with a chop of his axe, even a mountain would be split in half. However, the savage beast was not weak either. It was a black demon tiger. It was incomparably powerful and was one of the 10 beast emperors under the great desolate divine ape. The black demon tiger was covered in black fur and had a single horn on its forehead. Black lightning curled around the horn. None of the 10 beast emperors of the great desolate were easy to deal with. These beast emperors had slaughtered their way through the great desolate, and countless creatures had died under their claws. Roar! The black demon tiger roared angrily and a violent aura spread from its body. The tiger's eyes turned blood red. The black demon tiger instantly entered a berserk state, and its combat strength increased by several times. With a single roar, the surrounding mountains collapsed. It was incomparably violent. Die! The giant spirit battle king swung his axe at the black demon tiger's head. On the huge axe, Tao patterns were faintly discernible and a powerful wave spread from the axe. Among the 12 great bandits, the weakest had the cultivation of an almighty. The giant spirit battle king was the 9th among the 12 great bandits. His combat strength was not the weakest among the 12 great bandits. Swoosh! The black demon tiger left an afterimage on the spot. In the next moment, the black demon tiger had already pounced at the giant spirit battle king's side and bit at the giant spirit battle king's waist. Humph! The axe in the giant spirit battle king's left hand chopped downwards. It was still a head-on attack as it chopped at the tiger's head. Clang! The black demon tiger stretched out its claws and slapped the axe that the giant spirit battle king had chopped down. Sparks flew everywhere, and the extremely heavy axe was actually moved a few feet to the side by the savage beast. What? The giant spirit battle king was taken aback. He had never expected that this ferocious tiger would also have divine strength and could actually slap his axe away. It should be known that the power of his strike was enough to split a mountain in half. At this time, although the giant spirit battle king was shocked and furious, he had experienced many battles. He naturally retreated and wanted to avoid the ferocious tiger's bite. However, the ferocious tiger had already taken the initiative and directly bit the giant spirit battle king's waist. Kill! The giant spirit battle king was furious. He had actually been bitten by this beast. If the other bandits were to see this, he would definitely become a laughing stock. This was absolutely unacceptable. Swoosh! There was a flash of blood. The black demon tiger was hit by the giant spirit battle king's axe, and its entire head was almost chopped off. The injured black demon tiger retreated. The shocking wound on the ferocious tiger's neck was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, the wound was completely healed. The giant spirit battle king could not help but be surprised when he saw this. The ferocious tiger's body was extremely tough. Killing it was not an easy matter. At this moment, the giant spirit battle king felt a dull pain from his waist. The black demon tiger had bitten him, but it did not bite through his god artifact armor. However, even if it did not bite through the god artifact on his body, the force of the tiger's bite caused the giant spirit warking's waist to ache faintly. "Ha ha, 9th brother, do you need help?" Suddenly, a loud laugh rang out from within the valley. An incomparably handsome young man walked out from within the valley. "3rd brother, you should just watch from the side as I cut this ferocious tiger into pieces," the 9th brother said in a low, muffled voice. The 9th giant spirit battle king said in a low and muffled voice. He was very unhappy. After eating the precious medicine, his strength had increased quite a bit. However, he couldn't even deal with a fierce tiger. This made him feel ashamed. "Ha, take your time. I'll just watch." Chapter 2189. While the 9th of the 12 great bandits, the giant warrior monarch, was battling the black malice tiger, one of the 10 beast emperors of the great wilderness, Gu Fei was still moving quickly through the chaos passageway. "What's going on? I still haven't reached the end." Gu Fei was shocked. He had been in the chaos passageway for almost 2 hours, but he still hadn't come out of it. 2 hours! With his cultivation, he would have already traveled millions of miles. Could it be that this chaos passageway was actually millions of miles long? The situation ahead was unclear. Gu Fei didn't use his extreme speed 8 steps, but just moved forward at an ordinary speed. Inside the chaos passageway, the primal chaos chi was vast. Even someone as strong as Gu Fei couldn't extend his divine will too far, as the primal chaos chi could block it. There really was a chaos passageway below the chaos well. The Iron Blood Taoist could see it, and so could Gu Fei. The great desolate divine ape had escaped here, but Gu Fei wouldn't let it go so easily. The ape's entire body was a treasure that could be refined into a divine medicine. The great era could only last for 1,000 years. Gu Fei knew that if he wanted to compete with countless geniuses in this great era for the chance to become a sage, he would need to build his own force. He couldn't do everything by himself, so he needed people to do things for him. The leaders of some superpowers only needed to issue an order, and countless people would work for them. This was a very realistic phenomenon. They didn't need to do anything themselves, but they could enjoy all kinds of cultivation resources. The peerless geniuses of the superpowers were able to grow, largely because they were nurtured by their sections. Although one still had to rely on one's own hard work to become a true peerless expert on the path of cultivation, with the help of countless cultivation resources, one could achieve twice the result with half the effort. The reason why Gu Zhong and the others' cultivation levels had improved so quickly was because of Gu Fei's help. They had a good master. Sometimes, Gu Fei would think that his disciples were really lucky. After receiving his guidance, their cultivation levels had improved faster than he had at the same time. When he was at their level, he was still training hard. That is, just as Gu Fei was recalling his arduous journey, the primal chaos aura in front of him grew even stronger. The primal chaos aura in the passageway actually showed signs of liquefaction. What happened? Gu Fei was bewildered. Could it be that there was a chaotic void ahead? Very soon, Gu Fei discovered that his guess seemed to be correct. There was an endless stream of chaotic aura ahead, and he could already see the exit of the chaotic passageway. Gu Fei did not expect that the end of the primal chaos passageway would really connect to the primal chaos void. The primal chaos void was the void between heaven and earth that hadn't been opened. There weren't any laws of heaven and earth in this void. It was an unopened primal chaos zone. Entering these primal chaos zones was very dangerous. If one got lost in the primal chaos, it would be very difficult to come out again. Even if one's life wasn't in danger, drifting in the primal chaos for the rest of one's life would still drive one crazy. Hence, even a saint-level existence wouldn't be willing to enter the primal chaos rashly. This was because no one knew how big the primal chaos zone was. Even sages could get lost in it. It seems like, when Gu Fei approached, he could use his spiritual will to probe the outside of the chaotic passageway. He was very surprised. The outside of the chaotic passageway didn't seem to be a primal chaos zone. The primal chaos aura that surged into the chaotic passageway formed a strong pressure. Gu Fei could only walk forward step by step. Even someone as strong as him felt the primal chaos astral winds blowing on his skin. It felt like a sharp blade was slicing through his skin. The strong pressure couldn't stop Gu Fei's footsteps. He directly walked out of the chaotic passageway. Outside the chaotic passageway, there was actually a thick and solid ground. Gu Fei was in disbelief. He didn't know what kind of place he had entered, but he was sure that this wasn't a primal chaos zone. He activated his martial Dao heavenly eye and scanned his surroundings. He saw that this was a primal chaos world. This world was filled with primal chaos aura, and there was a strong pressure in this world. Gu Fei felt as though there was a mountain pressing down on his body. If this was an unopened chaotic void, he was standing on a thick ground. However, if this was a world, it was filled with primal chaos aura. Roar! Just as Gu Fei was in shock, an angry roar came from afar. The rumbling sound waves caused the surrounding primal chaos aura to ripple. It was like the roar of an ancient ferocious beast. It's the great desolate divine ape! Hearing this roar, Gu Fei's mind shook, but he was immediately shocked. He could feel a genuine saint-rank power. How is this possible? How could that divine ape break the seal and recover its sage-level cultivation? The supreme aura of the divine Tao swept over, causing the entire chaotic world to tremble. If this was the human world, this world would have already collapsed. The powerful sage Tao power surged and the chaotic world didn't collapse. This chaotic world seemed to be very stable. Even if a sage-level existence were to attack, they wouldn't be able to destroy this world. Rumble! Powerful ripples spread. The great desolate divine ape seemed to be in trouble and roared. Gu Fei carefully moved towards the source of the roar. Soon he arrived nearby. Gu Fei was shocked by what he saw. In front of him, the great desolate divine ape was releasing countless patterns of the great path. Every pattern was shining with dazzling divine light of the great path, lighting up the chaotic world. The powerful being fighting against the great desolate divine ape was a pitch-black stone man. The primal chaos aura surged around the stone man. This stone man was definitely a sage-level existence. It was extremely powerful, and it was fighting against the great desolate divine ape that had its seal broken. This place. Gu Fei sensed the true power of the divine path from the great desolate divine ape and felt a sense of helplessness. This power was too strong. Could this place be the legendary divine soil of chaos? Suddenly, Gu Fei thought of a possibility. Chaotic divine soil didn't belong to the three realms. It didn't belong to the five elements, and only floated in the chaotic world. This kind of divine soil was said to have existed before the world was created. It was the most ancient divine soil in the world. In this divine soil, there were no rules of the universe. It was like the beginning of the chaos. In such a special place, even the mysterious power that could destroy sages lost its effect. Is this the opportunity to become a sage? Chapter 2190. The legendary chaotic divine soil was no longer within the three realms. It had jumped out of the five elements, and was a transcendent place. Here, only the most primitive things existed and no worldly laws existed. In other words, it was a flawless pure land. At the same time, in the depths of an absolute region on Bujo ancestral star, a colossal chaotic light pillar appeared. It was formed by chaotic chi spewing out from the depths of the earth. The opportunity to become a saint has finally appeared. Among the ancient forces on Bujo ancestral star, a white-haired old man said with a trembling voice as he looked at the absolute region. He was so excited that his body was trembling. The opportunity to become a saint that only appears once every 10,000 years. Someone shouted. On this day, the entire cultivation world of Bujo ancestral star was in an uproar. The super forces could no longer sit still and made their move first. They picked out the peak demi-saints who were most likely to become saints, and prepared to conquer the absolute region and enter that legendary place. Boom! In the southern region of North Zhou ancestral star, a mountain peak deep in the mountains suddenly exploded. An old man in ragged clothes shot into the sky and headed for the absolute region. It's finally here. On a divine island deep in the South Pole divine sea of Bujo ancestral star, a white-haired young man wearing a Taoist robe stood on the highest peak of the divine island and calculated with his fingers. There are more geniuses in this generation than in any previous generation. The white-haired young Taoist stopped calculating after a while and murmured to himself. It was as if the sun, moon, and stars were descending in his eyes. Rumble! In a golden palace in the north of Bujo ancestral star, the heavy golden doors slowly opened and a tall figure that was shining with dazzling golden light like a golden sun walked out. The Gold Clan has been quiet for too long. It's time for a saint or two. The deity that seemed to be cast from gold muttered to himself. At this time, an old Buddhist chant came from the east coming Holy Land. The Buddhist lineage on Bujo ancestral star was also alarmed and was about to send out peak demi-Buddhas to fight. When the western demons appeared in the chaotic passageway, the demon lord of Bujo ancestral star sent out an order to gather all the demons in the world. In an instant, the figures of various ancient demons that were said to have fallen appeared in the western lands again. The western lands were filled with demonic auras. It was then that the entire cultivation world of the ancestral star of Bujo realized that the North Zhou demonic tribe still had a strong foundation, and they were not as weak as they looked on the surface, with some powerful ancient demons still living to this day. Not only the Bujo ancestral star, but even in the depths of a great danger zone on the soaring dragon ancestral star, chaos pillars had appeared. Chaos mist connected the sky and the ground, emanating a terrifying energy wave. Waha! The opportunity to become a saint has finally appeared. I can finally become a saint! Soaring dragon ancestral star, deep in the southern wilderness, in a valley amidst the 100,000 mountain range, a howl that sounded like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves was heard, breaking the silence of the valley. Has Marshal Granduncle gone silly again? In the valley, a middle-aged man sitting cross-legged beside a pool of water muttered to himself. Lower your voice. If Marshal Granduncle hears you, you'll be punished to do hard labor again. On another big rock beside the pool, a middle-aged man carefully looked in the direction of the sound, then lowered his voice and said, Are you 9 guys itching for a beating again? At that moment, an extremely handsome young man in black clothes appeared above the pool without a sound. He stood in the air and glanced at the 9 cultivators sitting beside the pool. Greetings, Marshal Granduncle Hay. The leader of the 9 cultivators who were cultivating beside the pool quickly stood up and greeted the black-robed young man who had appeared above the pool. Greetings, Marshal Granduncle Hay. The others quickly followed suit and greeted the black-robed young man with great respect. Humph, it's your fortune to be able to receive my teachings. If it weren't for the fact that your master isn't here, even if you were to ask me to teach you, it would depend on my mood, the black-robed young man said. The black-robed young man was none other than Haitian. Back then, Haitian had obtained a great opportunity on the Crimson Star and refined a world left behind by an ancient sage. However, just as he and Gu Fei were about to leave, a peerless demon broke free because Haitian had refined the ancient sage's world. When Haitian saw that the situation was not good, he immediately hid in his inner world and only dared to come out after everything was over. By that time, Gu Fei had already lost himself in the endless starry sky. He wandered in the starry sky and finally went to the Kunlun ancestral star, then embarked on the human race's ancient road. Haitian could not find Gu Fei, so he returned to the soaring dragon ancestral star and found the 9 disciples that Gu Zhong had accepted. Then, he hid in the 100,000 mountain range and taught these 9 guys. Marshal Granduncle Hay is right. Hun Xiong, the leader of the 9, nodded and said. They were very grateful to Haitian. Over the past few decades, their cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds because of Haitian's teachings. Of course, Haitian's teaching method was a little different. He often gave them tasks, and if they failed to complete them, they would be punished severely. For example, there was one time when Haitian was strolling outside and saw an ancient tomb. He had an idea and called Hun Xiong and the others to dig up the tomb. As a result, this ancient tomb turned out to be the tomb of an ancient powerhouse. When Hun Xiong opened the tomb, an incomparably powerful zombie actually jumped out. At that time, Hun Xiong and the others almost died under the zombie's sharp claws. May I know why Marshal Granduncle is looking for us? Hun Xiong asked carefully. Yes, there is. This time, I'm going out for a while. I don't know when I'll be back. You guys have to look after the sect and don't go out to cause trouble. If you provoke some big shot, I won't be able to save you, Haitian said. This, Hun Xiong and the others couldn't help but be surprised and happy. Since Haitian was going out for a while, they would be free. They were not the type to cause trouble, they just wanted to cultivate in peace. And in the valley, the one who caused the most trouble seemed to be Haitian. You guys are happy that I left. Haitian looked at the crowd and suddenly said. This. How could the disciples have such thoughts? Hun Xiong hurriedly shook his head. The others were also shocked by Haitian and quickly nodded. What? Seeing the others nod, Haitian's face immediately darkened. The crowd hurriedly shook their heads again. Humph! Haitian snorted and said to himself. The opportunity to become a saint has finally appeared. Gu Fei will definitely not miss this opportunity. If there are no accidents, we should be able to meet again in that place. After saying that, Erebus' figure silently disappeared from the sky above the pond. No one was able to see how he had left. Marshal Granduncle and the others are coming back. Chapter 2191. The primal chaos passageway appeared everywhere in the human realm. As long as there was life in the ancestral star, there would be a primal chaos passageway. This phenomenon only appeared once in 10,000 years. It was an opportunity to become a sage. At this time, there was no longer any secret to speak of. The peerless geniuses that grew up in the ancestral lands would not miss this opportunity. Moreover, the competition in this era was unprecedentedly fierce. In order to become a sage, countless geniuses would become stepping stones for others. In the end, there would only be one who could become a sage. In the chaotic divine soil, as long as someone succeeded in becoming a sage, the entrance would close. It would only open after 10,000 years, when the next great era appeared. If one didn't leave the chaotic divine soil before the entrance closed, they would be trapped in the chaotic divine soil for 10,000 years. One should know that the chaotic divine soil was not a friendly place. The native living beings here were all innate chaotic lifeforms that were born from the primal chaos. Some of them were strong enough to kill a sage. If they stayed in such a place, they would be killed by those chaotic creatures sooner or later and become their food. 10,000 years was too long. No one was confident that they could survive for 10,000 years in the chaotic divine soil. Those peerless geniuses who entered the chaotic divine soil would seize every second. Tian left the 100,000 mountains and headed towards the ominous land of the soaring dragon ancestral star. At this time, the 4 ancient clans of the southern wasteland also took action. The geniuses of the 4 clans were gathered, preparing to enter the ominous land of the chaotic divine soil. The place where the primal chaos passageway appeared was an ominous land. Before entering the primal chaos passageway, there would be an elimination battle. Only those who could successfully enter the depths of the ominous land would have the chance to enter the primal chaos passageway. Of course, this was only a small test for the geniuses of the superpowers. It's time. That person will also go there. In the ancestral court of the Azure Dragon clan, a tall man was sitting on a mountain peak. At this time, this young man opened his eyes. The moment this person opened his eyes, the entire void seemed to suddenly light up, as if there was a flash of lightning. He was the Azure Dragon, the most powerful being in the Azure Dragon tribe. His cultivation base of great accomplishment quasi-sage allowed him to sweep away all opponents in the tribe. Back then, he was defeated by Gu Fei, which threatened his position in the clan. However, until today, no one could successfully shake his position in the clan. If he wanted to become the current Azure Dragon of the Azure Dragon clan, he had to possess a powerful strength that could sweep away all opponents. Up until now, no one had been able to take the title of Azure Dragon from his hands. Other than the Azure Dragon clan, the geniuses of the other 3 ancient clans of the southern wasteland had all come out. They had been waiting for this moment. The races of the southern wasteland were preparing, and so were the other superpowers in the soaring dragon ancestral star. Bells were ringing in the western Buddhist land. Some of the rising stars of the Buddhist League had left the Buddhist land and appeared in the world. In the eastern region, someone saw the goddess of the Zhao clan, who had not appeared in front of the world for a long time, leave the Zhao clan. The mysterious Dong Wang also walked out of the ancestral court of the Dong Fang clan and appeared in front of the world. The emergence of the Dong Wang shook the entire cultivation world of the eastern region. In the past few decades, 2 peerless geniuses had appeared in the eastern region of the soaring dragon ancestral star. One was the goddess of the Zhao clan, and the other was this Dong Wang. One had to know that the title Dong Wang was not something that anyone could use. Another era. In the northern lands, in the northern demon region, in the sky above a demon cave filled with demonic chi, an incomparably huge yin and yang diagram was revolving. The diagram devoured the worldly essence from all directions, suppressing the demon cave. In the center of the diagram, a majestic figure was sitting cross-legged. I wonder if this era will be able to. In the mysterious ghost city of Fingdu, a long sigh was heard. The human world had finally reached its most critical moment. Even an existence like the ghost emperor of Fingdu could not sit still any longer. In the soaring dragon ancestral star, powerful fluctuations came from some forbidden lands. Some existences that had lived since the dark age of antiquity until now were alarmed. Someone had once used a great mystic art to divine that there would be a variable in this era, but no one knew what that variable was. People from the Jiang clan and the Zhou clan left one after another, heading towards those forbidden lands. These cultivation clans that had existed for countless years had extremely deep foundations. In particular, the young Shin king of the Jiang clan, Jiang Ren, had been in the limelight in recent years. He was seen as one of the rising stars with the highest hopes of becoming a saint. Of course, there were also many old fogies who had yet to become saints who had waited until this era. In the previous era, it was difficult for them to become saints, so they went into hiding and waited until this era. Although these old fogies were failures in the previous era, they had still cultivated for tens of thousands of years. It was hard to imagine what level their cultivation had reached. Without a doubt, these old fogies would not miss this opportunity to become saints. Who didn't want to become a saint? While countless peerless geniuses in the ancestral lands were preparing for an expedition to the chaotic divine soil, Gu Fei had no idea that something earth-shattering was happening in the outside world. In the chaotic divine soil, the battle between the great desolate god ape and the chaos stone golem had reached its climax. Boom! The great desolate god ape's fist landed on the chest of the chaos stone golem. The powerful force shattered the golem's chest, leaving behind a deep fist print. At the same time, the chaos stone golem tore off a large chunk of flesh from the great desolate god ape's left arm. Even the bone was exposed. Although the great desolate celestial ape's arm had been torn off by Gu Fei, it was not difficult for the great desolate celestial ape to regrow its flesh and blood. At this moment, the great desolate celestial ape's right arm had already regrown. Kill! The great desolate god ape's eyes were bloodshot. Its saint aura was unprecedentedly strong. In this place, it had no qualms about using the power of the saint level. With a loud roar, 9 violet Tao patterns rushed out of the great desolate god ape's body and crushed towards the chaos stone golem. These were the 9 primordial Tao patterns. Each one of them possessed a powerful destructive power. They sealed the space around them and imprisoned the chaos stone golem. Rumble! The chaos stone golem sensed danger. Divine sounds of the great Tao emanated from its body, and a power no weaker than the great desolate god ape's erupted. Trying to self-destruct? The great desolate god ape was shocked. Boom! At this moment, there was a loud explosion. A wave of destructive power exploded. The chaos stone golem really exploded. The powerful force was earth-shattering, and the 9 violet Tao patterns that were sealing the surroundings were all dispersed. Even the great desolate celestial ape was sent flying by this force. Chapter 2192. The chaotic divine soil was boundless. Here, there was only chaotic aura. There were no living creatures on the ground. It was a desolate world. Everything here was extremely primitive. Even the laws of heaven and earth had not evolved. In this place, one could not even feel the flow of time. Because of this, the living creatures that were born in the chaotic divine soil could generally live forever. They did not even show signs of aging. However, this was definitely not a good place. The living creatures that lived here were extremely powerful. The great desolate divine ape encountered a powerful opponent as soon as he entered. The chaos stone golem definitely had the battle power of a sage. However, its understanding of the great Tao was not as good as the great desolate divine ape. In the end, it had to self-destruct and escape into the depths of the chaotic divine soil. Rumble! The self-destruction of the chaos stone golem was earth-shattering. Even after a while, the remaining power was still wreaking havoc. The chaotic divine soil shook and cracks appeared on the ground. Fortunately, this was the chaotic divine soil. If this was the outside world, the self-destruction of the chaos stone golem was enough to destroy an entire region of an ancestral planet. It could drag countless living creatures down with it. How can there be such a powerful being in the chaotic divine soil? When Gu Fei used the anti-void secret technique, he seemed to have merged with the surrounding void. Even a saint-level existence would not be able to sense his presence. Roar! The great desolate divine ape stood on a short mountain and roared at the sky. A powerful sage aura spread out. With him as the center, the chaotic aura within thousands of miles was dispersed by this aura. The sage aura surged. On the great desolate divine ape's body, countless Tao patterns eventually turned into 9 purple primordial Tao patterns that appeared around him. In this place, even the destructive force that surpassed the heavenly Tao could not descend. In this place, there was no need for a sage to seal themselves. This was not a good thing for Gu Fei. The great desolate divine ape that had completely recovered its sage cultivation was extremely terrifying. Even if he had an extreme divine weapon, it would be difficult for him to fight against a real sage beast. Damn human, I know you're here. Humph. On the short mountain, the great desolate divine ape's body was covered with blood. In the battle just now, it was a Pyrrhic victory. The Chaos Stone Golem was very powerful and had the battle power of a sage. When the stone man exploded, the great desolate god ape was also affected. Rumble! The blood in the great desolate celestial ape's body was surging. His body emitted a thunderous sound. The wounds on his body were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The powerful body of a sage was almost indestructible. Even if the body was severely injured, it would not be fatal. Now, only other sages could threaten this divine ape. The great desolate divine ape scanned the surroundings from the top of the short mountain. He didn't need to seal himself. His pair of golden fiery eyes could see through the primal chaos, and see thousands of miles away. But by this time, Gu Fei had already retreated thousands of miles away. In this chaotic divine soil, the spiritual will of cultivators was greatly suppressed. Walking on this piece of land was like carrying a huge mountain. The pressure here was at least several hundred times that of the outside world. Even immortals who could fly could only walk on the ground when they came here. It was difficult for them to soar into the sky. Even powerful beings could only barely fly. Only half-sages and quasi-sages could fly in this place. Of course, although half-sages and quasi-sages could fly in this place, it would consume a large amount of elemental chi. It was not as easy as it was in the outside world. In the chaotic divine soil, powerful immortals were like mortals in the outside world. Once they entered this place, they would not be able to survive, let alone fight for the sage Dao fruit. I will subdue you after I become a sage. The roar of the great desolate divine ape was heard from behind. However, Gu Fei turned a deaf ear to it and ran away. What a joke! This divine ape had completely recovered its sage cultivation. Even if Gu Fei used the immortal supremacy Dao body, he might not be a match for it. Although the immortal supremacy Dao body was strong, his avatar was too weak and could not control the power of an immortal supremacy. Otherwise, he could really fight against the great desolate divine ape. Since it was possible to become a sage here, everything would have to wait until he became a sage. In the chaotic divine soil, the void was dim, and there was no light. Chaotic energy was floating everywhere. Even Gu Fei's immortal will could only cover a radius of 10 miles around him. He had to be careful. He had seen the strength of the living beings in the chaotic divine soil. Roar! When Gu Fei passed by a valley, a beast's roar suddenly came from the valley. Then heavy footsteps could be heard. A pitch-black bull rushed out of the valley. This barbaric bull's body was shrouded in chaotic energy. Its blood-red eyes stared at Gu Fei as it directly charged towards him. The 2 large horns on its head were sharp and pointed. If he was hit by the bull, 2 bloody holes would be left on his body. Evil beast! Gu Fei exhaled and threw a punch, directly hitting the head of the raging bull that was charging over. Bang! A heavy fist force erupted, blocking the charging bull. However, Gu Fei was also forced to take 3 steps back by the powerful rebounding force from the fist force. What? Gu Fei never thought that a bull that had yet to take human form would have such godly strength. It was hard to believe that it could push him back 3 steps. Roar! The barbarian bull roared as if it had gone mad. It charged at Gu Fei again, and the chaotic energy around it became even denser. Gu Fei was shocked to find that there were many wounds on the bull's body. They seemed to have been injured recently. There was actually something that could hurt this bull. Needless to say, this bull was a native of the chaotic divine soil. However, it was not a sentient divine beast that was born from the chaotic divine soil. A remnant of primordial chaos? Gu Fei stomped on the ground with his right foot and soared into the sky. The bull that was charging at him immediately rushed past him and hit a huge boulder that weighed hundreds of thousands of kilograms. The boulder was directly smashed by Barbarian Bull into a dozen pieces and smashed outwards. Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. This remnant of the chaotic divine beast was very powerful. Ordinary experts would have a hard time subduing it. Even a half-step saint would have a headache. Unfortunately, this bull ran into Gu Fei. Gu Fei made a turn in the air and swooped down from the sky, landing a punch on the bulging spine of the Barbarian Bull. Crack! With a soft sound, Barbarian Bull's spine was immediately broken by Gu Fei's punch. With a broken spine, even the strongest remnant of the chaotic divine beast would not be able to stand up. The bull fell to the ground like a small mountain. Chapter 2193. Although the remnants of chaos were strong, they couldn't gain any advantage against Gu Fei. Gu Fei's martial body was even stronger than the remnants of chaos. Just as Gu Fei broke the bull's spine with one punch, causing the beast to lose its ability to fight, a few cold gazes appeared in the surrounding chaotic aura. That's... Gu Fei was taken aback. He felt a dangerous aura, as if he was being stared at by a prehistoric beast. At that moment, a holy spirit walked out from the chaotic aura on the left. When Gu Fei saw the creature, he was taken aback again. The creature was covered in black scales and had a humanoid appearance. However, there was a single horn on its head. There were no pupils in its eyes, only a ball of black light. No wonder the Barbarian Bull attacked Gu Fei like a madman the moment it saw him. It was obvious that this creature had fought with the Barbarian Bull before. There were quite a few wounds on the creature's body, and there was even a bloody cut on its chest. However, to Gu Fei's surprise, the creature's blood was actually black. He sensed a faint demonic aura from this creature. There are demons in the chaotic divine soil too, Gu Fei muttered to himself. Roar! The human-shaped creature suddenly roared and pushed off the ground with both feet. It flew up and pounced at Gu Fei. The creature's hands were very long, and its 10 fingers were like 10 sharp little swords. If one were to be scratched by it, 10 bloody holes would definitely appear on one's body. What is this thing? Gu Fei didn't dare to be negligent. He immediately threw out a chaotic fist. The surrounding chaotic aura was immediately attracted and gathered towards his fist. Gotcha! Bam! Gu Fei's fist directly broke the creature's claws, and then his fist landed on the creature's head. Boom! With a bang, the humanoid creature's head exploded from Gu Fei's punch. The headless corpse flew away and smashed into the ground a few dozen meters away. With just one punch, Gu Fei had killed the unknown creature. Gu Fei was also surprised that he could kill a creature no weaker than the bull with a single punch. He realized that his chaotic fist seemed to be even more powerful in this place. The punch just now had actually attracted the surrounding chaotic aura. Human, you deserve to die! A voice suddenly rang out in Gu Fei's mind. It was a divine sense ripple, and it came from the powerful life form within the mass of primal chaos chi. Then, the powerful creature walked out of the primal chaos mist. When Gu Fei saw this creature, he couldn't help but be shocked. This creature was more than 10 feet tall, and its body was covered in silver scales. It was no different from the humanoid creature whose head was blown off by his punch. However, this creature's scales were silver in color. Careful, this is the Demon Spirit King! Just as the creature walked out, a voice suddenly rang out from the side. Gu Fei hurriedly looked in the direction of the voice. At this moment, the silver creature suddenly disappeared. Its movement was so fast that it didn't even leave behind a faint afterimage. Humph! Gu Fei laughed coldly and directly punched out. The speed of his punch seemed very slow, but it was actually an illusion that could cause people to misjudge. Bam! The space in front of Gu Fei suddenly trembled. Then, a sharp silver claw appeared in front of his fist, followed by a long silver arm, and then a whole body. Only then did the entire silver creature appear from the void. At this moment, Gu Fei finally saw clearly that on a mound 300 feet to his left, there was a man with tattered clothes, fluffy hair, and a face full of beard. This person looked like a beggar. His clothes were tattered, and his hair was dry and yellow. Moreover, it was stuck together, forming a lump. It was hard to imagine that this person hadn't bathed for a long time. Ha! Gu Fei exhaled. His right fist that was blocking the silver creature's sharp claw suddenly exerted force. An incomparably strong chaotic fist force suddenly exploded, sending the silver creature flying. Great completion quasi-sage cultivation. You are a human cultivator who came here to become a sage. The eyes of the person on the mound immediately lit up. Even his voice was trembling, as though he was very excited. Swoosh! At this moment, the silver creature that was sent flying by Gu Fei instantly disappeared into the void, as though it had become one with the surrounding void. Let's get rid of these fellas first. As Gu Fei spoke, he stomped on the ground with his right foot. Boom! The entire ground instantly collapsed. His entire body shot up into the sky, pouncing towards a certain spot in the void at an extremely fast speed. Bam! He directly punched out. Roar! An angry roar was heard, causing the void to tremble. The silver creature was sent flying out of the void by Gu Fei's punch, howling in anger. There were still two powerful creatures in the nearby chaotic mist. However, they quickly retreated at this moment. What? The mysterious man in ragged clothes couldn't help but be shocked at this scene. The power of the demonic spirit king was undeniable. This was a type of remnant of the chaotic demons in the chaotic divine soil. This type of remnant of the demons was extremely powerful, especially the demonic spirit king. It was proficient in the void and could launch a silent attack, making it impossible for people to defend against it. However, this innate advantage of the demonic spirit king was ineffective today. Gu Fei's movement was also incomparably fast. After sending the demonic spirit king out of the void with one punch, the second punch instantly arrived. The powerful force once again sent the demonic spirit king flying. An ink-like blood seeped out from the demonic spirit king's mouth. As a remnant of the demons, this kind of demons didn't have a strong demonic nature due to the impure bloodline of the demons. However, it still possessed some characteristics of the demons. What a strong physical body! The man on the mound was dumbfounded. This person was really too fierce. He actually dared to fight against these remnant of the chaotic chaos. He had never seen such a fierce person before. At this time, Gu Fei displayed his might. He used his extreme 8 steps speed to suppress the demonic spirit king. The demonic spirit king only lasted for a while before being trampled down from the sky by Gu Fei. Bam! The demon spirit king fell from the sky and heavily smashed into the ground, creating a large crater. The earth trembled and cracks appeared around the crater. I'll send you on your way. Gu Fei waved his right hand and a chaotic sword light rushed out from his hand. It was like a chaotic river, pouring down from the sky with unstoppable momentum. Swoosh! In the pit, the demonic spirit king, who had just climbed up, was directly split into 2 halves by this extremely sharp chaotic sword light. Demonic blood splattered everywhere. A powerful demonic spirit king that could easily tear a half-step saint into pieces was easily beheaded. Chapter 2194. The fact that Gu Fei had slain the demonic spirit king shocked the mysterious man in ragged clothes. He seemed to know just how powerful and terrifying the demonic spirit king was. Whoosh! Gu Fei took a step forward and came to the mound. You! The mysterious man seemed to be startled and involuntarily took a step back. Behind his messy hair, a look of panic flashed across his eyes. An immortal cultivator! Gu Fei glanced at the man. He sensed an extremely obscure ripple of immortal energy from the man. He was hiding his strength. Who are you? The man asked Gu Fei with a flicker in his eyes. I should be the one asking you that. Gu Fei suddenly smiled and said, You're from the outside world. Have you been through another life? The man mumbled to himself as if he couldn't hear Gu Fei's words. Humph! Gu Fei snorted coldly. He used his power of the Great Path, which turned into the divine sound of the Great Path. It directly affected this person's heart, giving him a severe warning. Ah! The man shuddered. His eyes behind his messy hair immediately became clear, no longer showing any signs of confusion. He had clearly woken up. The 5 ancestral lands of the human world. Where are you from? Kunlun, Ziwei, or Primordial? The man said. You know about the 5 ancestral lands of the human world. Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked when he heard this. The reason he knew about the 5 great ancestral grounds of the mortal world was because he obtained a star chart of the mortal world. From the star map, he learned for the first time that apart from the soaring dragon ancestral star, there were 4 other ancestral grounds in the vast universe. Humph, there's really no ancestral land of the human world that my Ji clan doesn't know about, the man said proudly. The Ji clan. Gu Fei was shocked to hear this. The surname Ji was the surname of the ancient human race. It was the surname of an invincible emperor who dared to compete with the extreme Tao Supremes. That invincible emperor had once quelled the chaos in the darkness and suppressed an entire era with his own strength. The chaos demons didn't dare to come out and could only struggle at death's door. However, the surname Ji had already disappeared from the soaring dragon ancestral star. There were no longer any members of the Ji clan in the soaring dragon ancestral star. The entire ancestral star of Crepe Myrtle is the world of my Ji clan. You say that my Ji clan is powerful to such an extent, but how many things in the human world are there that my Ji clan doesn't know? The man's tone became arrogant. So the Ji clan originated from the Ziwei ancestral star. Hearing this, Gu Fei was enlightened. No wonder the Ji clan on the soaring dragon ancestral star had gone extinct. It seemed like all the Ji clan members had returned to the soaring dragon ancestral star. You are not from the Myrtle star. You must have come from another home planet. The man sized up Gu Fei and said, I am from the soaring dragon ancestral star. Gu Fei looked at the man and said, The soaring dragon ancestral star. The man seemed to be taken aback. So you are from that place. The man muttered to himself. My name is Ji Changkong. I have been lost in this godforsaken place for about 10,000 years. The man suddenly let out a long sigh and told Ji-Chen many things. It turned out that the chaotic passageway into the chaotic divine soil would appear once every 10,000 years, and the chaotic passageway would appear on all 5 of the ancestral stars. No one knew why the chaotic passageway would appear. Every time this happened, the cultivation world of the human world would usher in a great era. Geniuses would emerge in large numbers, and the entire cultivation world would prosper. Becoming a saint had become everyone's goal. However, the human world did not allow saints to appear. After the primordial era was broken, becoming a saint had become an unreachable goal. However, the appearance of the opportunity to become a saint had brought hope to all living beings. The chaotic divine soil was a sacred place that was not affected by the laws of heaven and earth. One could become a saint here. This was the hope of becoming a saint. Every time the chaotic divine soil reappeared, the cultivation world of the human world would usher in a great turning point. Countless experts would fight in the chaotic divine soil in order to become saints. This Ji Changkong was actually an antique cultivator from 10,000 years ago. He entered the chaotic divine soil to become a saint. However, in the bitter battle 10,000 years ago, he became a loser. Moreover, someone plotted against him, causing him to miss the chance to leave the chaotic divine soil and become trapped here. Originally, there had been 7 or 8 cultivators trapped in the chaotic divine soil with Ji Changkong. However, as time went by, these cultivators who followed Ji Changkong died one by one. In the end, Ji Changkong was left roaming the primal chaos divine soil alone. This chaotic divine soil was not a paradise. The native creatures here were all incomparably powerful. One of Ji Changkong's followers died under the claws of the demon spirit king. These demon spirits were the most commonly seen creatures in the chaotic divine soil. Aside from them, there were also some extremely powerful existences in this place. If one were to carelessly enter the territory of the chaotic divine soil, there would only be one result: death. The people of the various ancestral lands can enter this place. After hearing Ji Changkong's words, Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked and happy. The chaotic divine soil could actually connect to the 5 ancestral lands of the human world. This was incomparably unexpected. Boom! Just at this moment, a loud sound came from the right. The chaotic mist in the sky rippled and a powerful energy rippled in all directions. What? There's actually someone who dares to target that thing. Ji Chang Kong looked in the direction of the sound. He was extremely shocked. Let's go take a look. Gu Fei directly used his 8 steps extreme speed. With 1 step, he instantly disappeared from the mound. His speed was so fast that even Ji Chang Kong's heart trembled. This person's cultivation method seems to be. Ji Chang Kong seemed to have thought of something, but he couldn't confirm it at this moment. This is. When Gu Fei arrived at the place where the sound came from, he couldn't help but be stunned by the scene in front of him. He saw that there was an ancient city several kilometers away. At this moment, a giant tens of kilometers tall was swinging a mountain-splitting axe in his hand, ruthlessly chopping at the gates of the ancient city. Boom! When the divine axe fell, the entire ancient city shook. Someone was using Dermic World to attack the ancient city. Inside the ancient city, there were actually rays of light flickering. There seemed to be many divine items trapped in the ancient city. These divine items had already gained intelligence, and were naturally unwilling to be trapped in the city. They wanted to charge out. Chapter 2195. Ji Chang Kong was a peerless genius of the Ji clan on the crepe myrtle star 10,000 years ago. He had cultivated for a few hundred years, but he was already strong enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with the older generation of cultivators. It should be known that not everyone could enter the chaotic divine soil to fight for the opportunity to become a saint. Ji Chang Kong was able to survive 10,000 years in the chaotic divine soil. This in itself was enough to show how extraordinary he was. Back then, if he had not been plotted against, he would have become a saint long ago. He would not have ended up in such a miserable state. Who dares to peep at me? Just as Gu Fei approached the ancient city, the giant attacking the ancient city immediately sensed Gu Fei's arrival and shouted. Gu Fei did not say anything and walked out of the chaotic fog. I didn't expect to meet someone from the same clan so soon after entering. The mountain-like giant stopped and stared at Gu Fei. His voice reverberated in all directions, dispersing the chaotic mist in the surroundings. Kill! Suddenly, the giant swung his axe towards Gu Fei's head. There were faint traces of the Tao on the divine axe, and the power of the great Tao was condensing. Only one saint could appear. The giant directly attacked Gu Fei, wanting to catch him off guard and eliminate Gu Fei. Damn it! Gu Fei tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and instantly moved 300 meters away, dodging the giant's axe that was chopping down on his head. Ha! Gu Fei exhaled and punched the giant with his right fist. An extremely strong fist force exploded. One could see transparent ripples around the fist with the naked eye. The giant was clearly shocked. He never thought that his opponent would be so strong and counterattack. Furthermore, his opponent's punch was shockingly powerful. Whoosh! The gigantic body, which was several thousand jiang in length, disappeared and a burly man wielding twin axes appeared before Gu Fei. Wielding the twin axes, the burly man blocked Gu Fei's fist. Bang! Gu Fei's punch landed directly on the axe. The man only felt an unstoppable force coming from the axe. His hands that were holding the axe felt a sharp pain, and he couldn't help but take 5 or 6 steps back. You! That person's expression changed drastically. He knew that he had kicked an iron plate today. Then, that person directly turned around and left, actually not daring to contend against Gu Fei. He still didn't want to die. Seeing that the situation wasn't right, he immediately fled. However, Gu Fei would not let those who wanted his life go so easily. Being merciful to one's enemy was being cruel to oneself. This was especially true in this chaotic divine land. For the sake of becoming a saint, these people would do anything. Shwa! With a single step, Gu Fei had already caught up to that person. With a wave of his right hand, a streak of chaotic sword light immediately shot out towards the person in front of him. There was nothing much to say. Since the other party wanted his life right from the start, there was no need for Lin Fan to show any mercy. Just as Gu Fei's chaotic sword light was about to land on that person's body, a ball of godly light suddenly surged out from that person's body. Then, the ball of godly light shrunk and disappeared along with that person. The chaotic sword light slashed across the ground and disappeared into the chaotic mist. Under the impact of the sword chi, a sword mark was left on the ground. "You're lucky to escape." Gu Fei didn't expect this person to be so decisive as to use a treasure to escape. Who was that? How could he be so powerful? At this moment, a figure fell out from the void 100,000 miles away from Gu Fei. This person was the man who attacked Gu Fei earlier. This man was still in a state of shock. If he had been any slower in escaping, he would have lost his life. Even though he had used a greater teleportation talisman, it was definitely worth it. Rumble! As soon as this man came out from the void, a ball of divine fire descended from the sky and burned towards him. Within the fire, a divine bird could be vaguely seen. Preposterous! The man was enraged. He immediately swung his divine axe and broke through the layers of fire towards the divine bird in the divine fire. His murderous intent was shocking. The living beings that entered the chaotic divine soil met each other. There was nothing much to say. They only had one goal: to kill each other and survive. Only those who survived could become sages. To countless geniuses, the great world of the human world was a disaster. Of the living beings that entered the chaotic divine soil, less than 1% of them would survive. This was the cruel path to becoming a saint. It was a path paved with the blood and bones of countless geniuses. So powerful! Could you be the descendant of the legendary martial ancestor? Ji Chang Kong had already come to Gu Fei's side. Gu Fei was able to force back an incomparably powerful existence the moment he made a move. This caused Ji Chang Kong to be extremely shocked. In his opinion, Gu Fei had a very high chance of standing out in this battle. The Ji clan of the Myrtle Ancestral Star really knows everything. Gu Fei turned to look at Ji Chang Kong. His eyes were sparkling. According to Ji Chang Kong's words, the Ji clan was the strongest on the Crepe Myrtle Ancestral Star. To Gu Fei, this was definitely an amazing thing. One had to know that an ancestral star could give birth to countless powerful living beings. For example, the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star and the Buzhou Ancestral Star could not be ruled by a single power. However, this seemingly impossible thing had become a reality on the Myrtle Ancestral Star. There are many chaotic spiritual treasures in this ancient city. If you can get them, becoming a saint will not be a problem. Ji Chang Kong said as he stared at the ancient city in front of him. Chaotic spiritual treasures. Gu Fei couldn't help but be moved. Chaotic spiritual treasures were spiritual beings born from the primal chaos. In the human world, such spiritual beings could not be found. Only in the chaotic divine soil could one obtain chaotic spiritual treasures. Occasionally, one could see flashes of light in the ancient city. Those were spiritual beings that had gained sentience moving, trying to rush out of the city. No wonder the giant wanted to break the ancient city's seal. So it was for the chaotic spiritual treasures. What's the origin of this ancient city? Gu Fei asked. Ji Chang Kong had been trapped in the chaotic divine soil for tens of thousands of years. Naturally, he knew many of its secrets. I think you should give up on the chaotic spiritual treasures. Back then, many people wanted them, but they all died in the ancient city. Chapter 2196. The pitch-black ancient city was faintly discernible in the primal chaos. Nobody knew why there was an ancient city in the primal chaos divine soil. One must know that the living beings in the primal chaos divine soil were all incomparably powerful. There was no need for them to build an ancient city. Even some of the royal members of the primal chaos clans lived in grotto heavens filled with spiritual energy. It was impossible for them to build an ancient city. Only human settlements would have an ancient city. In other words, this ancient city was most likely built by humans. Perhaps it was a divine city built by the primal chaos gods. Otherwise, how could this ancient city trap a primal chaos spiritual treasure? Swoosh! A resplendent five-colored divine light flashed in the ancient city. It was a plant that emitted a five-colored divine light. It was like a five-colored divine flame that disappeared in the blink of an eye. What is that? Outside the ancient city, Gu Fei happened to see this scene. Even with a layer of seal, he could still feel a powerful five-elemental aura seeping out from the ancient city. That's a five-elements divine ginseng. It has already gained intelligence and can absorb nutrients from the primal chaos, turning it into five elemental essences. This divine ginseng is comparable to half an immortal herb, Ji Changkong said. The five elemental essences that were born from the primal chaos? Gu Fei could not help but be moved. This divine ginseng was incredible. It should be a divine item that was born from the first five elemental essences that evolved from the primal chaos. Even if it was not an immortal herb, it was comparable to half an immortal herb. Gu Fei immediately thought of Ziyin Shao. That guy had the great five elements physique. If he saw this divine ginseng, how would he react? Even Gu Fei could vaguely guess what a five elements divine ginseng meant to Ziyin Shao. If Ziyin Shao saw this divine herb, he would probably go crazy. If he could obtain this divine herb, he might be able to break through his bottleneck and soar into the sky, becoming a sage. There must be great opportunities in this ominous land, Gu Fei muttered to himself. The fact that this ancient city could trap chaos spiritual treasures inside was enough to prove the problem. If it was so easy to obtain chaos spiritual treasures inside the ancient city, they would have long been taken away by others. Boom! Gu Fei directly attacked the seal of the ancient city and punched out. A layer of transparent light shield appeared in the void and enveloped the ancient city. On the transparent light barrier, Tao patterns could be seen faintly. Gu Fei was just testing the waters, but the power of this punch was enough to smash a mountain into pieces. However, only a few ripples appeared on the layer of light in front of him. What a powerful seal! Gu Fei was secretly surprised. This seal was definitely at the saint level. It should be known that he could break any seal below the saint level with a single punch. If he used an extreme Tao God weapon, he would be able to break this seal. However, Gu Fei did not wish to do so. He had obtained a fusion Tao fruit during the fight for the undying God tree previously. In this place, he could use this immortal divine fruit to break through to the saint level. No one could break the ancient city's seal. He could break through to Saint Realm first, then come back here to break the seal and take away the chaos spiritual artifact. Thinking of this, Gu Fei made up his mind. Just as Gu Fei was about to leave, an obscure aura suddenly came from afar. He quickly retreated. Ji Changkong seemed to have also sensed something strange and retreated together with Gu Fei. Eh? A cry of surprise rang out. After that, two figures walked out from the primal chaos. They were two old men, two strange old men. One of them was dressed in black, and his entire body was like a black hole, constantly devouring the essence energy in the surroundings. Even light seemed to be devoured by him. The other old man seemed to be surrounded by a starry sky. Specks of starlight flickered in the void around him, emitting the power of stars. Why are these two old men here? Gu Fei was hidden in the primal chaos mist far away. When he saw the two old men, he could not help but be shocked. He was not unfamiliar with them. They were the two ancient half-saints from the eastern region Dongfang clan of the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star. The ancient half-saint Jiuyo and the ancient star half-saint appeared outside the ancient city. Could this chaotic divine soil really be connected to the various ancestral stars? Gu Fei was incomparably excited. He had left the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star for a long time. He wanted to return to the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star. If he could become a half-saint here and return to the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star, the Dongfang clan would definitely be erased from the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star. Do you know these two old men? Ji Changkong noticed Gu Fei's expression and asked. I don't just know them. I have a great enmity with them, Gu Fei said hatefully. His eyes flickered with ferocity. Just as he was about to make a move, a figure silently appeared outside the ancient city. Preposterous! When Gu Fei saw that figure, he immediately pulled Ji Changkong and instantly left with his extreme speed. That monkey! Ji Chang Kong was very confused. He did not know why Gu Fei retreated as soon as he saw the monkey. Could it be that the monkey was an existence that could threaten Gu Fei? Gu Fei did not dare to stay any longer. He immediately rushed far away before finding a valley and dashing into it. Roar! An earth-shattering roar came from the valley. Then, a huge figure flew out of the valley and smashed into the outside with a loud bang. This, Ji Chang Kong felt a tremor under his feet. It was a dragon horn beast. Its body was as huge as a small mountain. It smashed a huge pit in the thick ground. The dragon horn beast roared and struggled to climb out of the pit. Then, it rushed into the distance without looking back. The dragon horn beast seemed to be greatly frightened. It immediately ran away and did not dare to stay any longer. Ji Chang Kong was extremely shocked. This young man is even more ferocious than the remnants of chaos. He had been trapped in the chaotic divine land for 10,000 years. Naturally, he was very clear on the incomparably strong remnants of chaos. This dragon horn beast was a ferocious beast with the blood of a true dragon flowing through its veins. The creatures in the chaotic divine land would more or less inherit some tyrannical bloodlines. The true dragon of chaos was a supreme existence. I'm going into closed-door cultivation. Just as Ji Chang Kong was shocked, a voice rang out in his mind. Gu Fei was transmitting his voice to him. Ji Chang Kong could not help but be startled when he heard this. This person just entered the chaotic divine land and he is going into closed-door cultivation. Could it be that he intends to break through to that realm? Thinking of this, Ji Chang Kong could not help but feel excited. He had been trapped here for 10,000 years. In the end, he did not become a martial sage. This had something to do with the plot against him back then. Thinking of what happened back then, Ji Chang Kong could not help but feel excited. He forcefully suppressed the hatred in his heart. Then, he climbed a small mountain in the periphery of the valley, and sat down cross-legged on a large rock at the peak. This valley was the territory of the dragon horn beast. The dragon horn beast was incomparably strong. Among the countless remnants of chaos, it was definitely an existence like a beast king. Very few remnants of chaos dared to barge into the territory of the dragon horn beast. At this moment, Gu Fei was sitting cross-legged in front of an ancient cauldron in the valley. The ancient cauldron was mostly filled with herbs. These herbs refined from the flesh of holy beasts were no longer of much use to him. He took out the Tao fusion fruit from the cauldron. The divine fruit gave off the faint sound of the great Tao, resonating with the heavenly Taos. The divine fruit contained fragments of the great Tao and could automatically condense the energy of the great Tao. This was the Tao fusion fruit. After a cultivator ate it, it would change their physique, allowing them to get closer to the great Tao, resonating with it and comprehending it. With the Tao fusion fruit, Gu Fei believed that his chances of reaching the great Tao were at least 60%. It had to be said that he had already made all sorts of preparations before this. The 10 years of meditation had not been for nothing. His understanding of the great Tao had deepened by another level. In the end, Gu Fei did not eat the Tao fusion fruit. Instead, he put it away along with the ancient cauldron. He wanted to rely on his own strength to break through to the saint level. While Gu Fei was in seclusion, the peerless geniuses from the 5 ancestral planets finally met in various parts of the chaotic divine soil. Without any suspense, a fierce battle was inevitable. Rumble! The battle between a giant and a firebird reached its climax. The flames burned half the sky red and dispersed the chaotic mist. Within the flames, Tao patterns could be vaguely seen. These were Tao flames that could burn everything in the world. However, the giant that was fighting the firebird held a pair of divine axes. He constantly used brute force to break through the layers of Tao flames and slashed at the firebird. In the end, the giant retreated, and the firebird also soared into the sky, disappearing into the chaotic mist. This battle caused quite a commotion. However, the two great experts seemed to have fought to the point where both sides were injured. Neither could kill the other. In the end, they could only retreat. Meanwhile, in another area, a golden dragon shadow suddenly appeared and sliced the remnant species of chaos in half. A sneaky fellow then appeared and waved his hand. The golden dragon shadow immediately transformed into a golden dragon saber and flew back to that person's hand. Ha, not bad. The true dragon bloodline in this dragon-armored beast isn't that thin. That person laughed loudly. He activated a mysterious technique and directly extracted the bloodline power from the remnant of chaos that was cut in half by his sword. Then, he devoured it. After devouring the power of the true dragon's bloodline, this person's face immediately flushed red as if he was drunk. The bloodline power of the remnant of chaos is really strong. I should be able to break through after devouring the blood essence of a few more remnant of chaos. The mysterious black-cloaked person muttered to himself. The mysterious man in the black cloak mumbled to himself. His cultivation technique was somewhat different from the others. He needed to devour the blood essence of various powerful constitutions to improve his cultivation and constitution. Chapter 2197. In a certain region of the divine chaotic soil, a little monk dressed in a moon-white robe was sneaking around. This region was not simple. There were many winding mountain ridges, and in the middle of them was a short mountain. Rather than calling it a short mountain, it was more appropriate to call it a mound. From time to time, bones could be seen scattered among the rocks in the mountain ridges around the mound. There seemed to be great danger here, and it gave off a strong sense of oppression. The little monk was very careful. He carefully walked around the mountain ridges around the mound, as if he was looking for something. He did not directly step into the range of the mound. There really is an earth-shattering existence buried here. The little monk had practically walked through all the ridges around the mound. Then, he climbed up one of the tallest ridges and looked at the mound in front of him. The mound in front of him was even taller than the mountain ridges he was on. The mound had a radius of several dozen miles, and it had suddenly appeared in the middle of the mountain ridges. The little monk murmured to himself on top of the mountain ridges, his eyes shining brightly. He had come from the eastern arrival Holy Land, so he knew many of the secrets of the divine chaotic soil. To some of the superforces, the divine chaotic soil that appeared once every 10,000 years was actually no secret. It should be known that these superforces had existed for countless 10,000 years. These superforces had fought in the divine chaotic soil more than once, so they naturally knew many of the secrets of the divine chaotic soil. There was no sun or moon in the divine chaotic soil, and one could not even sense the passage of time. Even the most basic laws of the world had not evolved in such a chaotic place. The little monk pondered for a long time, then sent out a clone to walk forward. Although it was only a clone, it was no different from walking into the range of the mound himself. Everything that the clone sensed would be immediately sensed by the main body. Swoosh! Just as the little monk's clone stepped into the range of the mound, a beam of divine light suddenly appeared without any warning and directly destroyed the clone. The little monk could not help but be shocked when he saw this. A drop of vermilion blood seeped out from between his brows. He had also suffered a blow when his clone was destroyed. As expected, the little monk didn't dare to probe any further. There really was an ancient tomb where a peerless powerhouse was buried. Moreover, this ancient tomb was enveloped by a layer of sealing power. The ancient tomb was very old. There was no tombstone, only a large mound was preserved. Everything else had been completely eroded by the merciless passage of time. The tomb of a peerless expert was definitely not a good place. Saint-level seal. Although the little monk was unwilling, he still chose to retreat for the time being. As long as he could become a sage, everything would no longer be that difficult. This little baldy is really careful. After the little monk left, a black silhouette silently appeared at the place where the little monk had stood. It looked in the direction the little monk had left and muttered to itself. Then, the black shadow also disappeared. The little monk walked through the primal chaos divine soil. This was a kind of tempering. Even if it was a disciple of the Buddhist sect who entered the primal chaos divine soil, they would still go on a killing spree. What exactly is he looking for? A mysterious black shadow had been following behind the little monk. The mysterious person quickly discovered that the little Baldy didn't seem to be randomly bumping around in this part of the Holy Land. After an unknown amount of time, the little monk actually arrived at the foot of a huge mountain. This was a huge mountain of unknown height. There were many traces of people around the mountain, and at the peak of the mountain, there was a rare divine medicine. This time, the little monk had come here for the divine medicine at the peak of the mountain. Roar! Just as the little monk approached the peak of the mountain, a roar suddenly rang out. Then, the shadow of a dragon rushed out from the peak of the mountain. The aura of a true dragon was vast and mighty. Infinite longevity Buddha! Seeing this scene, the little monk couldn't help but be shocked. This dragon-shaped creature wasn't a true dragon, but an old flood dragon that had already grown dragon horns. This old flood dragon was extremely powerful. It was definitely an old emperor of this primal chaos divine soil. In the primal chaos divine soil, there weren't many existences that could truly suppress this old flood dragon. The little monk directly retreated, but the speed of the old flood dragon was truly too fast. It was like a shadow following the body, making it difficult for the little monk to truly pull away from the old flood dragon. Without any suspense, a great battle erupted. Boom! The void trembled, and the body of the little monk emitted millions of golden Buddha lights. The shadow of a giant Buddha appeared in this part of the world. Buddha is with me. The little monk's right palm directly slapped towards the old flood dragon that was charging towards him. Rumble! Following the little monk's action, the incomparably huge Buddha shadow that appeared on his body also struck forward. The huge Buddha hand that was like a mountain enveloped the old flood dragon under the Buddha hand. In the palm of the Buddha hand, a swastika vaguely appeared. The old flood dragon seemed to have sensed danger. It opened its mouth and spat out a divine pearl, smashing towards the enveloping Buddha hand. Within the divine pearl, there was a shocking power of a true dragon. In the void around the divine pearl, the shadow of a dragon was constantly faintly discernible, and faint dragon roars could be heard from the void. Dragon Pearl. Seeing the old flood dragon spit out the divine pearl, the little monk couldn't help but be surprised and delighted. He never expected that the body of an old flood dragon that had yet to transform into a true dragon had already nurtured a dragon pearl. Obviously, the old flood dragon was suppressing its own cultivation. Boom! With a loud bang, the divine pearl that emitted a terrifying dragon aura smashed against the Buddha hand that was slapping down from the sky. Two extremely powerful forces collided. The void was rippling, but it wasn't destroyed. This was the divine land of chaos. Compared to the outside world, this chaotic world was many times more stable. If it was in the outside world, when the power of the little monk and the old flood dragon collided, perhaps the entire void would be annihilated. The old flood dragon's cultivation was unfathomable. The dragon pearl that he spat out directly smashed the Buddha hand that was slapping down from the sky, and continued to smash towards the little monk. Sacred beast. The little monk was taken aback. The strength of the other party was far beyond his expectations. Without any hesitation, the little monk was directly sent flying away. He then turned around and left, not daring to stay at all. There was no need to fight against a sacred beast. Before becoming a sage, even the most outstanding existence would find it difficult to contend against a true sage-level expert. A true sage-level expert was far from being comparable to those sealers who had sealed their own sage-level cultivation. Roar! The old flood dragon directly chased after the little monk. This puny human actually dared to offend it, and covet the divine medicine that it was guarding. He was simply tired of living. This mountain was the old flood dragon's territory, and the divine medicine on the mountain peak was also guarded by the old flood dragon. This divine medicine was definitely a priceless treasure to the old flood dragon. As the little monk and the old flood dragon chased, they quickly disappeared at the end of the horizon. Humph! At this moment, the mysterious person who had been carefully hiding at the side walked out. He glanced in the direction that the little monk and the old flood dragon disappeared in, and directly rushed towards the mountain peak. Soon, the mysterious person dodged the various traps set by the old flood dragon and successfully reached the mountain peak. This is On the mountain peak, on a blood-colored stone, there was a small tree that was only a few feet tall. It was a blood-red small tree, and on the small tree, there was also a blood-colored fruit. The fruit was the size of a fist, and there was a layer of red spiritual chi on the fruit. Blood peach. When the mysterious person saw the fruit, he could not help but be moved. This was a rare divine medicine in the world. Although it was not an immortal divine medicine, it still had a heaven-defying effect. No wonder the old flood dragon was so furious when the little monk dared to rush up the mountain. This blood peach was too important to the old flood dragon. This was a fruit that could extend one's lifespan, and allow an old person to regain their vitality and become young again. The blood peach had another name. It was called the youth rejuvenation fruit. To think that there was such a tree growing on the mountain peak, it was really shocking. The old flood dragon had lived for countless years, and this blood peach was enough for him to live a second life. I got lucky. The mysterious person in black took out a jade box, and then went forward to pluck the blood-colored fruit. After that, he used his magic to move the blood-colored stone and the tree that was rooted on the stone into his inner world. The blood peach was ripe, and it was time to pluck it. Roar! Just as the mysterious person in black moved the tree into his inner world, an earth-shattering roar was heard from afar, and an extremely powerful sage-level aura could be felt. Swoosh! The mysterious person in black's expression changed, and he immediately teleported away. Despicable humans! An old flood dragon came from afar. When the old flood dragon saw that the blood peach on the mountain peak had disappeared, and there was only a huge pit where the blood peach used to be, he almost vomited blood. His eyes were red. He had fallen into a trap. The other party lured him away, and the other party's companions took advantage of the time when he was away to sneak up the mountain and steal the blood peach along with the tree. Kill! I'm going to kill all of you! The old flood dragon roared and rushed into the distance. He had been guarding the blood peach tree on the mountain for close to 10,000 years. Just as the blood peach was about to ripen, someone stole it along with the tree. How could he not be mad? Ha ha! This is a great bargain. Even in the ancient times, these blood immortality peaches are extremely rare items. In a mountain range thousands of miles away from the mountain, the mysterious person in black was extremely excited. The blood peach was a lifesaver for a cultivator. This fruit could allow a cultivator to live a second life. Even a sage would be jealous of it. One should know that even a sage would die. If there was a fruit like this, a sage who was about to die could be revived. Chapter 2198. Boom! A huge mountain exploded. Rocks flew everywhere, and dust filled the air. A silver-colored flood dragon rushed out and roared at the sky. Several geniuses of the human race were directly turned into a mist of blood in the midst of its roar. Evil flood dragon, how dare you kill my race's geniuses! A furious roar rang out, and a white-haired old man broke through the chaotic mist and rushed over from the distance. Die! The silver-colored flood dragon swung its tail at the incoming old man. Silver runes appeared on the dragon's tail, interweaving into a terrifying power that could destroy heaven and earth. What? When the old man sensed this power, he was shocked. Pfft! Without any suspense, the old man who rushed over was slapped by the flood dragon's tail and exploded into a mist of blood. Both his body and soul were destroyed. A little ant dares to be so presumptuous in front of a dragon? How laughable! The flood dragon was extremely powerful. He killed everywhere and specifically targeted the human race. He had already killed several batches of human geniuses. The human race's geniuses met with a great calamity. Very quickly, this news spread among the human race, causing all the geniuses who entered the chaotic divine soil to feel nervous. Those who could enter the chaotic divine soil to fight for the same position were all geniuses from their ancestral planets. These geniuses were the brightest stars in their respective ancestral planets. But in the primal chaos divine soil, everything changed. The so-called geniuses here were in danger of dying at any moment. It was said that in one generation, only one saint could be born. No one knew why this was so. As long as someone became a saint in the chaotic divine soil, the others would not have the chance to do so. No one could break this phenomenon. When a person became a saint, his strength would suppress all the Taoists in the world. No matter how amazing and heaven-defying an existence was, their Tao would be suppressed, making it impossible for them to become a saint. Some people thought that this was the reason why only one person could become a saint in one generation. However, some people did not agree with this. The Tao of a saint could suppress other Taoists. This was inevitable. However, saints were not invincible. The Tao of a saint could not be resisted. As long as someone had the confidence and determination to break through the suppression of the Tao of a saint, they could also soar to the sky and become a saint. These were two different viewpoints in the world of cultivation. The first view had already been proven. There could only be one saint in a generation. Countless years had passed, and no one had been able to break this iron law. The second point of view had yet to be verified. After the blood peach of immortality was stolen, the old dragon was enraged and went on a rampage in the chaotic divine land. As long as he saw a human, he would definitely kill them. The continuous fall of human geniuses finally alarmed those super forces. Boom! An old man descended upon the primal chaos divine soil. He was a sealer, but after entering the primal chaos divine soil, he didn't have any misgivings. He directly undid all the seals on his body and recovered his peak power. The sages of the human race had finally appeared. In the chaotic divine soil, the aura of a sage was as clear as a lamp in the dark, causing all living beings to tremble in fear. The sages who entered the chaotic divine soil would not casually make a move. They had their own scruples, especially against the juniors who had yet to become sages. If someone dared to do so, it would be a huge taboo and they would become everyone's enemy. Two fists couldn't fight against four hands. Even someone as strong as a sage could fall. The arrival of the sages made all the geniuses of the human race extremely excited. Boom! A great battle erupted. Just as the old dragon was about to attack a genius from a superforce, the sage of that superforce had just arrived. A dazzling divine light rushed out, directly destroying a mountain range and turning it into ashes. The power of a sage was too strong, and this was the result of being in the chaotic divine land. You long worm, you're too much! The sage of the human race shouted, and his voice spread far. Kill! That old silver flood dragon didn't say anything and immediately used the killing move. He opened his mouth and spat out a silver heavenly river that charged towards the saint opposite him. This was a sage technique. It was extremely terrifying. Buzz! The sage of the human race didn't dare to be slow. The space in front of him trembled, and a bronze mirror appeared in front of him. On the surface of the bronze mirror, black and white Tao patterns appeared. The power of yin and yang interweaved. Swoosh! The destructive divine light shot on the bronze mirror and was actually reversed by the bronze mirror, shooting back towards the old dragon. What? The old dragon was shocked. He directly soared into the sky and dodged the attack. The bronze mirror in his opponent's hand was very extraordinary. It could actually reverse his attack. Buzz! The bronze mirror in the sage's hand trembled again. Black and white divine light rushed out from the bronze mirror, turning into a yin-yang divine diagram that suppressed the old dragon. As soon as the diagram appeared, the surrounding chaotic fog was immediately drawn over and entered the diagram, being assimilated by the yin and yang qi on the diagram. The yin-yang divine diagram devoured the surrounding chaotic qi and its power increased rapidly. The diagram emitted a powerful wave that seemed to be able to destroy the world. Although the old dragon was strong, he had to be careful at this moment. The sage artifact in his opponent's hand could actually refine chaotic qi for its own use. It was truly terrifying. One should know that in this chaotic divine land, there wasn't much of anything but chaotic qi. The silver flood dragon directly unleashed his strongest killing technique. He opened his mouth and spat out a dragon pearl. 9 dragon shadows rushed out of the dragon pearl and coiled around it. Roar! The void seemed to be filled with the roars of dragons. A powerful wave spread out from the dragon pearl. At the old dragon's level of cultivation, he already had the qualifications to transform into a dragon. However, he was still accumulating and suppressing it. He had waited for almost 10,000 years. He was waiting for the blood peach to ripen. If he consumed the blood peach when he was transforming into a dragon, the true dragon blood in his body would be infinitely close to that of the ancestral dragon. The blood peach had the effect of purifying the true dragon blood. After waiting for 10,000 years, the old dragon was destroyed by the human race. This made the old dragon go crazy and start a massacre. However, the ancient sages of the human race would not just sit and watch. One should know that these geniuses were the future of the human race. Especially in this generation, there would probably be someone who would become a sage. This was a very serious matter. Before one truly became a saint, even the most stunning genius would be mercilessly killed by this old flood dragon. To the old dragon, these geniuses of the human race were just a bunch of ants. Boom! At this moment, the dragon pearl that emitted a monstrous true dragon aura clashed with the yin-yang divine diagram of the human race. The power of two sages clashed. Chapter 2199. The power of the saint level was colliding, and the space within a radius of tens of miles was shaking. The terrifying saint level ripples spread out, dispersing the layers of chaotic mist. Even though the chaotic divine soil was extremely stable, at this moment, spatial cracks that looked like black lightning appeared. However, the void of the chaotic divine soil was extremely stable, and those spatial cracks disappeared in an instant like real black lightning bolts. The self-healing ability of this chaotic world was truly very strong. Kill! The silver flood dragon was incomparably ferocious. After losing the blood immortality peach, he hated the entire human race. His ambitions were higher than the heavens. He originally wanted to transform into the most powerful true dragon, and he even had the chance to become the legendary invincible dragon ancestor. But now, it was impossible. He had lost the blood immortality peach. Even if he could transform into a real dragon, he would only be an ordinary real dragon. This step was extremely important for a flood dragon to transform into a dragon. It directly determined the physique and bloodline of a flood dragon after transforming into a dragon. When transforming into a dragon, the purer the true dragon blood essence that was produced from the body of a flood dragon, the stronger the true dragon body would be, and the more potential it would possess. However, without the help of the blood immortality peach, the true dragon that transformed into a true dragon would not have a pure bloodline. As such, even if it succeeded in transforming into a true dragon, it would lose the right to become a true dragon. The silver flood dragon attacked in a frenzy. The dragon pearl blossomed with divine light and actually forced back the yin-yang divine diagram that rushed out from the yin-yang mirror. This shocked the human race saints. Shwa! The human saint flew up into the sky and dodged the dragon ball's attack. Boom! The dragon ball smashed over, shattering the space where the human race saint had been standing into thousands of pieces. A huge hole appeared in the sky. This guy is crazy. The human race saint was both shocked and furious. He did not want to risk his life against a man. Dragon soars to the 9 heavens. The silver serpent soared into the sky and used a great technique. In an instant, it arrived in front of the human race saint and whipped its tail at him. This old flood dragon already possessed the characteristics of the dragon clan, but it had yet to truly transform into a dragon. So fast! The shock of the human race saint was no small matter. Buzz! The yin-yang mirror trembled, and the black and white light of the yin-yang mirror rushed out from the mirror towards the sweeping dragon tail. The power of yin and yang intertwined, and the power of the great path was mighty. Bang! Destructive lightning flashed from the tribulation clouds, bringing with it a terrifying and despairing destructive energy. This heavenly tribulation lasted for about 24 hours. A mountain range was reduced to ashes. In the end, someone saw a person crumble under the heavenly tribulation. Many human geniuses witnessed this scene. They all looked solemn. The success rate of breaking through to the saint realm was too low. Not many among them could survive. The tribulation of a saint was very terrifying. If one couldn't endure it, then his body and soul would be destroyed by the tribulation. The person in the mountain range was a good example. Roar! Just when the group of human geniuses was about to leave, a roar was heard from afar. A silver flood dragon rushed over from the sky like a mountain. "It's that flood dragon!" someone yelled. "What?" The group of geniuses was shocked. They never thought that the flood dragon that killed the human geniuses would appear at this time and attack them. Collect! A human genius performed a great art. A golden gourd flew out from his body. The mouth of the gourd was aimed at the silver flood dragon. A heaven-devouring energy surged out from the golden gourd. Swoosh! The silver flood dragon was enveloped by the devouring energy from the golden gourd. Then, the silver flood dragon shrunk rapidly and disappeared into the golden gourd. Witnessing this scene, all the human geniuses were dumbfounded. Their eyes almost fell to the ground. The legendary peerless serpent was taken away just like that. The golden gourd emitted a faint golden glow. It flew down from the sky and landed in the hands of a purple-robed young man. "What flood dragon?" "Just SOSO. The purple-robed young man looked at the golden gourd in his hands and said in disdain, "It can't be. That flood dragon was really taken away." A black-robed young man mumbled to himself on a short mountain far away. Chapter 2200. Everyone was dumbfounded. Even the purple-robed youth himself was dumbfounded. He had actually sucked the flood dragon into the golden gourd. The flood dragon's infamy was earned through slaughter. Even human saints had to retreat from it, but it had been sucked into the golden gourd by a human youth. This was too unbelievable. How is this possible? All the human geniuses couldn't believe their eyes. Could this golden gourd be a supreme divine treasure refined by an ancient Renhuang? Or perhaps it was a treasure left behind by a supreme? At this moment, the golden gourd in the youth's hands had faint golden runes on it. These ancient runes gave off a boundless and ancient aura. Although this golden gourd is extraordinary, it's definitely not a supreme divine treasure refined by an ancient Renhuang. Someone muttered. This should be a divine treasure refined by an ancient saint. A white-haired old man said. The human genius in the mountain's tribulation had alarmed many people. There were geniuses of the current era among them, as well as a living antique. Although these antiques hadn't become saints and had been waiting since ancient times, their knowledge wasn't something ordinary people could compare to. This is truly heaven-defying. That flood dragon seems to be an ancient saint as well. The mysterious black-robed man muttered in the distance. He couldn't understand how the golden gourd in the youth's hands could be so powerful. Just who stole the blood immortality peach? A bald monk murmured in the sky. He had become someone else's scapegoat, and was chased by this flood dragon. He was so depressed that he almost coughed up blood. At this moment, the purple-robed youth suddenly exclaimed. Countless cracks suddenly appeared on the golden gourd in his hand. Everyone couldn't help but be startled by this change, and they all felt a sense of unease. Boom! Before the purple-robed young man could react, the golden gourd in his hand had already exploded. An extremely powerful force suddenly erupted. A layer of divine light surged from the purple-robed young man's body, protecting him. However, the explosive power was too strong. His hands turned into a bloody mist in an instant. Then, the layer of divine light that surged from his body collapsed. The purple-clothed youth only had time to let out a furious roar before his entire body was blasted into a bloody mist by the destructive force that spread out, and his body and soul were annihilated. Roar! A dragon's roar rang out, and a silver figure soared into the sky. A powerful and violent aura instantly enveloped the entire world, as if a peerless demon lord had descended. It's that flood dragon! Someone exclaimed. At this time, the flood dragon that burst out of the golden gourd had already spat out a mouthful of divine fire towards the nearby human geniuses. That mouthful of divine fire instantly ignited and enveloped half of the sky, enveloping more than a dozen human geniuses in it. Ah! Roar! I don't want to die. A few human geniuses screamed miserably as they were set ablaze. In just a few breaths of time, those human geniuses were burned to ashes. Even their primordial spirits couldn't escape. Both their bodies and souls were destroyed. The remaining 7 or 8 geniuses held on bitterly. They had secret treasures bestowed upon them by the ancestors of their clans, which allowed them to temporarily block the divine fire. "Flood dragon, I'll kill you!" 2 old men charged over from afar. One of the human geniuses who had just been burned to death was the most outstanding genius in their clans. The genius who had the highest chance of becoming a saint had actually died just like that. This was enough to make the 2 old men go crazy. "Kill!" Without any hesitation, the 2 old men directly used great techniques and attacked the flood dragon. 9 divine swords shot out from one of the black-clothed old men. Every single sword shone with blinding light, and the light from each sword was different. 9 colored swords. "That person is the 9 Swords King from ancient times," someone cried out. That person seemed to have seen through the origins of the black-clothed old man. In ancient times, an expert of the way of the sword had once appeared. This expert had used 9 divine swords to dominate the primordial world, making a huge name for himself. "What 9 Swords King? Go to hell!" The flood dragon was extremely ferocious. It swept its tail towards the 9 resplendent streaks of sword light. There were runes on the dragon's tail. Clang! A series of metallic clangs rang out. The 9 divine swords pierced the dragon's tail, but they were unable to break through the flood dragon's defense. The 9 divine swords were swept away by the dragon's tail. Humph! At this moment, another old man made his move. This old man wielded a bronze hammer and directly smashed it towards the flood dragon. On the surface of the bronze hammer, dazzling bolts of lightning shot out. Each bolt of lightning was as large as a mountain, tearing apart the void between heaven and earth. A destructive power radiated from the hammer. It was like the descent of divine lightning, causing everyone's hearts to palpitate. It was like they were facing the might of heaven. Thunder God's hammer. The flood dragon seemed to be shocked. It seemed to know the origin of this divine treasure and was very afraid. It actually left an afterimage on the spot and retreated. "Kill!" At this moment, the 9 Swords King was shocked. He took back the 9 divine swords and then rode them towards the flood dragon. "Where do you think you're going?" The old man with the Thunder God's hammer also put it away and chased after the flood dragon. Such a great feud would definitely not end until one of them was dead. In the great clan that the 2 old men belonged to, no one could become a saint. The flood dragon had destroyed their hope. However, the flood dragon was extremely strong. It seemed to be able to deal with the 2 saints with ease. It fought and retreated at the same time. The battlefield moved quickly. The 3 experts entered the endless mountains. This was a battle between saints. It was extremely fierce. Mountains were being crushed into dust. It seemed like the world was going to be destroyed. If such a battle were to take place in the human world, it would be a disaster. Countless living beings would die, and the ancestral planet would probably be affected. "That flood dragon is indeed cunning." In the distance, the mysterious man retreated. If the flood dragon knew that he was the one who stole the blood peach, he would be in big trouble. The bald monk also retreated decisively. One should know that he didn't want to be chased by the flood dragon again. This time, he didn't have a life-saving secret treasure. The mysterious man in black and the bald monk left. No one noticed them because everyone's attention was attracted by the earth-shattering battle in the depths of the mountains. The power of the saints spread in all directions. All the experts were shocked. Chapter 2201. The Fluctuation of a Sage. "Is a sage coming out?" A voice came from the valley. "Boss is coming out." At this moment, a person outside the valley woke up from his meditation. This person was Ji Chong Kong from the ancestral star of crepe myrtle. He had decided to follow Gu Fei. He could see that Gu Fei had limitless potential. He might be a sage in this generation. He would not be at a disadvantage to follow such a person. The guy who plotted against him back then was probably a powerful figure in his clan now. 10,000 years was too long. He knew nothing about the situation of the G clan and the ancestral star of crepe myrtle. It would be difficult for him to take revenge. After all, he was alone while the other party had the advantage in numbers. If he followed Gu Fei, he might be able to get justice for himself in the future. The motivation for Ji Changkong's survival was hatred. Back then, he was about to succeed. However, he was plotted against by that person and failed on the verge of success. He was filled with hatred and unwillingness. At this moment, there was no movement in the valley. Gu Fei was still in seclusion. He was still trying to break through to the sage level. He would not come out so easily if he did not succeed. His opponent was too strong. The great desolate divine ape had recovered its sage-level cultivation. Ji Changkong was definitely not a match for it, even if he had a divine tool. The difference between a sage and a sage-to-be was too great. It was a gap that no one could overcome. Even a heaven-defying genius who could be invincible in the same realm would not be a match for a sage. Once a sage became a sage, it would be another world. A sage would be high above. Anyone below the sage level would be an ant. The divine sound of the great path resounded on Gu Fei's body. 9 primordial Dao patterns appeared on his body. Dao rhymes surrounded him as if he was about to ascend. He was still lacking a little. In the end, Gu Fei had to stop. He was still lacking a little. He could not comprehend the way of the sage. Did he really have to eat the fusing path fruit? Gu Fei was confident that he had a deep understanding of the great path. It was enough for him to become a sage. However, when he was trying to break through to the sage level, he realized that he was still lacking. Deep in Gu Fei's heart, he really didn't want to break through to the saint level with the help of external forces. But at this moment, he could no longer hesitate. If that monkey found him, it would be too late. If he succeeded in becoming a sage, he would no longer be afraid of that monkey. Gu Fei took out the divine fruit. The divine fruit lay quietly in the jade box. Waves of divine light circulated around the divine fruit. It was very extraordinary. Within the divine fruit, there were great Tao fragments. It was as if a world was evolving, shocking everyone. Gu Fei did not hesitate. He immediately ate the fruit of the way. Soon, waves of the divine sound of the great path came from his body, and the 9 primitive patterns emitted a dazzling light of the way. The originally blurry 9 primordial Tao patterns started to become clearer. Specks of divine light began to appear between Gu Fei's eyebrows. They were the shattered fragments of the great path contained in the fruit of path. They were a corner of the great path of heaven and earth. If he could comprehend them, becoming a saint would not be a problem at all. However, since ancient times, it seemed that not many people had been able to comprehend them. This was a long process. Gu Fei's entire body seemed to have become a stone statue. He did not move at all. The great path that he had created was being nurtured in his body. From time to time, the divine light emitted by the patterns flashed in the valley. While Gu Fei was cultivating in seclusion, the outside world was already in chaos. Countless geniuses of the human race were fighting. In this world, only one person could become a saint. The reality was cruel. Countless geniuses of the human race were fighting, and many had already fallen. Little Baldy, if you continue to follow me, I will not be polite to you. In a certain area of the chaotic divine soil, the mysterious man in black was stopped by a bald monk. This bald monk was the one who wanted to steal the fierce flood dragon and protect it for 10,000 years. Humph, hand over that thing. The bald monk sneered and stared at the mysterious man in black. I don't know what you are talking about. The mysterious man in black turned around and left. He did not want to pay attention to the bald monk at all. The flood dragon's thing is with you, right? The bald monk said indifferently. The mysterious man stopped when he heard this. A shocking aura spread from his body. He had no idea how the other party knew that he was the one who stole the blood peach. These baldies are so annoying. The mysterious man in black turned around and stared at the bald monk. His eyes flickered and a powerful battle intent surged from his body. Hand it over. The bald monk flipped his right hand and a purple gold alms bowl appeared in his hand. This? The mysterious man in black was shocked and angry when he saw the alms bowl. He thought of a person. That person was also a bald monk. Buzz! With a thought from the mysterious man, a golden sword immediately rushed out of his body. It was a golden Dao sword, and the sword gave off the ripples of sword chi of the saint level. The shadow of a golden dragon appeared on the sword. This was the Saint Emperor's golden dragon sword. Back then, after Gu Fei obtained this sword, he gave it to He Tian. The mysterious man's identity was obvious. I've always been the one to steal from others. I didn't think that someone would dare to steal from me today, He Tian said with a smile, but the expression on his handsome face was extremely cold. So it's an old thief. No wonder. The bald monk said in realization. You're courting death. He Tian never had a good impression of the bald monk, especially the little monk Fan Xiu. That guy had always been against them and was extremely detestable. Buddha is merciful. Looks like I'll have to break the precepts today. The bald monk said very seriously. Break your head. He Tian could no longer hold it in. He directly slashed at the bald monk. The dazzling sword light immediately turned into a golden rainbow and fell on the bald monk's head. The sword chi of the saint was vast and mighty. The surrounding mist was completely dispersed by the sword chi. Saint weapon. The bald monk didn't dare to be negligent. The purple gold alms bowl in his hand flew up and emitted a boundless Buddhist light. The entire purple gold alms bowl seemed to have transformed into a divine sun that illuminated the chaotic world. An extremely powerful devouring power surged out from the purple gold alms bowl, devouring all the chilling sword chi that descended from the sky. Clang! The Saint King's golden dragon sword returned to its original form and viciously slashed at the alms bowl, sending it flying. At the same time, the Saint King's golden dragon sword was also sent flying by the Buddhist force that erupted from the alms bowl. This. Chapter 2202. Good fella, another little baldy pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. He Tian was taken aback. He never thought that his opponent would be able to withstand his attack so easily. One should know that the Saint Emperor's golden dragon sword was not an ordinary saint weapon. It was a saint weapon refined by a Saint Emperor of the demon race. It was much stronger than ordinary saint weapons. The Saint Emperor of the demon race was in existence comparable to the immortal venerables of the human race. The immortal venerables of the human race were supreme existences below the extreme supremes. Only a human sovereign could suppress them. One could imagine how powerful the Saint Emperor of the demon race was. Could that alms bowl be a Buddhist treasure left behind by a Buddhist venerable? He Tian muttered to himself. He stared at the bald monk in front of him, and his eyes lit up. No wonder this little baldy could survive the pursuit of the flood dragon. With the protection of the Buddhist treasure of a Buddhist venerable, it would not be easy for the flood dragon to kill this little baldy. Hand over that thing and we might be able to become friends. The bald monk held the alms bowl in his hand and said to He Tian with a smile. Buddhist light flowed on his face, giving off a sense of peace and tranquility. You're really interesting. You actually dare to do this in front of your grandfather. He Tian laughed. He did not believe a single word that the little baldy said. If the little baldy's cultivation was higher than his, he would have killed him a long time ago. It seems that I've met a kindred spirit. The bald monk smiled embarrassedly and said, Only a ghost would be kindred spirit with you, He Tian said. He did not know where this guy was when he first made his debut. Only the old tortoise in the heaven realm was his kindred spirit. Then I have nothing else to say. Let's fight, the bald monk said and stretched out his hand, displaying a great Buddhist magic. His right hand grabbed at He Tian. His palm instantly grew infinitely large and enveloped the space in front of him. This was a Buddhist grand technique, the heavenly Buddha palm. It was as if a real heavenly Buddha was making a move. Powerful Buddhist energy spread out from the golden palm. In the center of the palm, a swastika Buddhist seal could be vaguely seen. Kid, you're still too inexperienced. As Tian spoke, his body shook and countless formation runes immediately rushed out of his body, imprinting themselves into the void around him. Buzz! The void trembled and countless runes appeared in the void. The runes interweaved and formed a huge formation. This was a great technique that could form a formation in the void. This was a great magical power that only a formation grandmaster could display. You! The little monk was truly shocked when he saw this scene. Never had he imagined that the young man before him would actually be a formation grandmaster. Shwa! Within the huge formation, terrifying sword lights rushed out. Every single sword light contained a terrifying destructive force. They shot up into the sky and met the heavenly Buddha palm that was coming down from the sky. Tian was extremely domineering. He stood in the middle of the huge formation, gathering spiritual chi from all directions. He and the formation became one, displaying the strongest power of the huge formation. The golden hand that was coming down from the sky was pierced through by the destructive sword light and dissipated into the void. Buzz! The destructive sword light vibrated. After piercing through the huge Buddha palm, the sword light did not dissipate. Instead, it continued piercing towards the little monk. Seeing this, the little monk took out the purple gold alms bowl in his hand. Heaven-devouring force gushed out from the alms bowl, sucking all the destructive sword lights into the alms bowl. Rumble! Just as the little monk dispelled Tian's sword light, the void around them started vibrating. Then countless runes rushed out from Tian's body. The runes interweaved in the void, forming a huge formation that emitted terrifying vibrations. What? The little monk, who was surrounded by the huge formations, could not help but be shocked. His opponent's formation technique was too brilliant. He could form a formation with just a thought. This technique was too shocking. The little monk could feel that every single formation around him was emitting a murderous aura. There were a total of 10 killing formations that trapped the little monk. There was the yin-yang formation, the 7 slaughtering formation, the heaven punishment formation, and so on. Every single one of the killing formations was not simple, and was extremely dangerous. You're not qualified to play with me, unless the little monk Fan Shio comes personally, Tian said proudly. His mastery of formations had already reached the peak of perfection. Even if the little monk Fan Shio came personally, he was confident that he could fight him. Little monk Fan Shio. The little monk who was trapped in the 10 killing formations was stunned. Based on what he knew, there was no little monk named Fan Shio in the Eastern Holy Land. That little monk Fan Shio must not be an ordinary person to make this guy hesitate. There's no point in talking anymore. Hand over everything you have and get the hell out of here. Tian did not waste any more words with the little monk. He was already eyeing the Buddhist treasure in the little monk's hand. A Buddhist treasure left behind by a Buddhist venerable was definitely priceless. You think you have me? The little monk who was trapped by the 10 killing formations was still calm. The purple gold alms bowl in his hand emitted a Buddhist light that enveloped him. Even though the 10 killing formations were powerful, they could not hurt the little monk in a short amount of time. Of course, Tian had yet to activate the 10 killing formations. He only used them to trap the annoying little monk and did not actually kill him. The little monk's pink cheeks were flushed and his expression was innocent. Tian knew that this was only the little monk's outer appearance. This guy was definitely an old monster. Just like the little monk Fan Shio, he was unfathomable. However, he was not afraid of this little monk. As long as the other party was not a saint, he had the ability to fight. Hee, I don't eat little monks. I only know how to smash their bald heads, Mahakala said with a hideous smile. He had a fiendish look on his face. Due to the little monk Fan Shio, he didn't have a good impression of Buddhism. That's all for today. I won't be so lucky the next time I meet you. The bald little monk, who was trapped in the 10 great killing formations, said these words. What? Hearing this, Tian could not help but laugh out loud. It was as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Was this guy crazy? It seemed like he was the one who had the upper hand and the one who was trapped was him. It seems like you won't know whose fist is harder if I don't show you what I'm capable of. Tian was about to make his move. However, at this moment, countless Buddhist runes suddenly surged out from the body of the bald monk who was trapped in the 10 major killing arrays. A mass of Buddhist light instantly enveloped him. Whoosh! He wielded the Thunder God Hammer, and it was extremely powerful. If the Flood Dragon could really kill the 2 sages easily, then it would really be heaven-defying. The battle ended after a day and night. No one knew the outcome of the battle. The Flood Dragon didn't die, but it left with serious injuries. The 2 sages didn't have it easy either. Some people guessed that the 2 sages and the Flood Dragon had probably both suffered heavy injuries. When the news of the Flood Dragon's injuries spread, the other human race sages started to move. Some people wanted to take advantage of the Flood Dragon's injuries to eradicate it. In particular, the factions that had their geniuses killed by the Flood Dragon wanted to tear the Flood Dragon to pieces. However, the Flood Dragon was very careful. It was bent on hiding, so even the powerful human race sages couldn't find it in a short time. Human race. As the human race sages searched for the Flood Dragon, a silver Flood Dragon was soaking in a pool of black water in a bottomless abyss in the depths of the chaotic divine soil. The pool of black water was not simple. It wasn't big, but the spiritual chi it contained was extremely huge. The black water was definitely a kind of divine liquid. The Flood Dragon hid in the bottomless abyss and was using the black water to recuperate. The wounds on its body were gradually healing, and its body was once again full of vitality. Just as the Flood Dragon hid in the bottomless abyss to heal, the divine sound of the great path came from the valley where Gu Fei was. He had eaten the fusing fruit of the way and seemed to have merged with the heavenly path, forgetting everything. Waves of the divine sound of the great path came from his body, as if a supreme being was preaching. 9 kinds of Tao patterns appeared on his body and gradually became clear. Every Tao pattern seemed to contain a world within it. At the same time, the inner world inside Gu Fei's body was also changing. As his cultivation level increased, the inner world was also expanding, especially the inner world in the Mud Pill Palace between his eyebrows. Rumble! In the Mud Pill Palace, the chaotic chi was vast and mighty. A world was evolving, and the void and the earth were constantly growing. This world was devouring the chaotic chi. The 4 primitive forces of earth, water, wind, and fire were wreaking havoc in this world and the chaotic chi. At this time, in the position of his heart, a divine pearl of heaven and earth was vibrating. It was the purgatory path's origin of heaven and earth. At this time, the entire purgatory path changed color, and the sun and moon were dim. However, the purgatory path was, after all, one of the 6 paths refined by the legendary Buddhist Lord. It was like a real big world. As Gu Fei's cultivation level increased, it was still difficult for him to take away such a world. However, even if it was difficult for him to take away this world, he had caused all kinds of terrible phenomena to appear in the purgatory path. In the divine land in his Dantian, countless creatures were terrified. No one knew what was happening. The divine land was shaking as if the world was about to be destroyed. What happened? In the place where the Meng clan lived, the old clan leader said. Could it be that the Lord? In the place where the undead clan gathered, the 3 undead emperors were extremely nervous. They had vaguely guessed something. Is he really going to become a saint? Outside the valley where Gu Fei was, Ji Chang Kong was muttering to himself. The vast aura of the great path coming from the valley was getting stronger and stronger. Faintly, he seemed to hear some kind of Tao sound. At this time, in the valley, Gu Fei's entire body was shining with the divine light of the great path. His bones were shining, his organs were vibrating, and his flesh and blood were trembling. This was an extremely important transformation. From the outside to the inside, Gu Fei's entire body was shining with divine light. A huge amount of essence chi was cleansing his martial body. 9 primitive Tao patterns were imprinted on Gu Fei's body. They were imprinted into his martial body's flesh and bones. His entire martial body was undergoing a qualitative transformation. His flesh and bones were constantly collapsing and then reforming. In the end, Gu Fei's entire body turned into a blood cocoon. In the blood cocoon, there seemed to be a connate chaotic beast being nurtured. The powerful aura coming from it caused the surrounding void to ripple and crack. Chapter 2204. In the valley, the chaotic aura was vast and mighty. Gu Fei's entire body had turned into a blood cocoon. Chaotic Tao patterns were faintly discernible inside, and the power of the great Tao was intertwining. Gu Fei finally began the most important transformation of his life. His flesh, blood, tendons, and bones had all turned into a blood mist, constantly condensing and dispersing in the blood cocoon. In the blood cocoon, a mass of purple divine light floated. That was Gu Fei's true spirit, a powerful life imprint. As long as his true spirit was not destroyed, he could reconstruct his martial body and not die. 9 primordial Tao patterns began to appear on the mass of purple divine light. Gu Fei's life imprint had to be imprinted with the mark of the great Tao in order to become an immortal saint. Of course, immortality was only relative. If he encountered an existence stronger than him, he would still be in danger of dying. In the purple divine light, a black divine sword was faintly discernible. It was the 9th heaven star sword that Gu Fei had refined himself. There were also 9 Tao patterns faintly discernible on the body of the 9th heaven star's sword. The 9th heaven star's sword had originally been imprinted with the 9 ancient words of the martial scripture, but at this time, the 9 ancient words were constantly evolving, gradually turning into 9 primordial Tao patterns. The sage's heavenly tribulation was very important. The 9th heaven star's sword also had to undergo this heavenly tribulation in order to truly become a sacred weapon. Gu Fei's sword had been tempered step by step. With his cultivation, it had become stronger step by step, accompanying him all the way until now. As a warrior, the strongest weapon was himself. However, Gu Fei had an unusual idea. He wanted to use the means of the immortal Tao to temper a battle sword that was most suitable for him. Buzz! In the purple divine light, there was a series of sword hums. It seemed that the 9th heaven star's sword also knew that this was an opportunity for it, a chance to become a sacred weapon. Very good. Let us see how terrifying this legendary sage's heavenly tribulation is. There was a wave of spiritual will coming from the purple divine light. The spiritual will was filled with confidence, as though it did not take the sage's heavenly tribulation seriously at all. Rumble! In the sky above the valley, the chaotic aura was vast and mighty. There was a faint sound of thunder, as though it came from the 9 heavens, giving off a very distant feeling. This is... The moment the thunder rang out, all the sage-level lifeforms in the chaotic divine soil were shocked. Someone was trying to break through to the sage levels so quickly. This was a sign that the saint-level heavenly tribulation was about to descend. It hadn't been long since the last saint-level heavenly tribulation, but those people still couldn't help it. They knew that there were some old-timers who had been waiting for an opportunity to reach sage ascension. It was unknown just how many quasi-sage old-timers had entered the primal chaos god soil this time. These people had been waiting for too long. They couldn't wait any longer. However, they were wrong this time. The one undergoing the tribulation wasn't one of those old geezers, but a genius of the present age. Someone is undergoing tribulation again. Hee old black, we'll go take a look. When He Tian heard the news, he immediately headed towards the valley where Gu Fei was. At this time, the other geniuses also gathered in the area where the sage's heavenly tribulation was about to descend. The sage's heavenly tribulation was extremely terrifying. Since ancient times, not many people had been able to succeed, even in ancient times. He's really going to undergo tribulation. Outside the valley, Ji Chong Kong was extremely shocked. This Gu Fei was really heaven-defying. He actually attracted the sage's heavenly tribulation. The pressure from the sky made his heart palpitate. Ji Chong Kong didn't dare to be negligent. He immediately retreated. He didn't want to attract his sage's heavenly tribulation because of the power that attracted the tribulation. As long as someone was undergoing tribulation, no one would dare to be near the person undergoing the tribulation. It should be known that the heavenly tribulation did not descend without reason. It was caused by the power of the person undergoing the tribulation. This kind of power was very mysterious and unfathomable. No one knew how this power appeared. Whenever someone's cultivation reached a certain level, this power would appear. Other cultivators would avoid this kind of power. They wouldn't dare to come in contact with it. Even someone as strong as a sage would have some misgivings about this power. It should be known that there were extreme supremes above the sage level. If a supreme tribulation was attracted, even 10 lives wouldn't be enough. Rumble! The thunder from the sky gradually became louder. The chaotic mist that enveloped this region started to dissipate. Bolts of lightning appeared in the pitch-black sky. In this chaotic divine soil, there were no stars yet. The sky was pitch black and there was no starlight at all. Someone is undergoing tribulation again. I'm afraid a sage will really appear in this generation. A white-haired old man appeared on a mountain peak in the distance. He looked in the direction of the valley. The chaotic chi in the valley was vast and mighty. It blocked everyone's vision. Even spiritual sense couldn't enter the valley. At the same time, thunder could be heard in another place in the chaotic divine soil. It came from a small island in the depths of the chaotic divine sea, far away from the primal chaos mainland. They are undergoing tribulation at the same time. An ancient sage was incomparably shocked. It was rare to see people undergoing tribulation at the same time, even in the great desolate era. In the depths of the chaotic divine sea, an unimaginable existence was undergoing tribulation. Terrifying lightning struck down from the sky. Every bolt of lightning tore the chaotic heaven and earth apart. A destructive aura that made even sages' hearts palpitate spread out from the depths of the chaotic divine sea. An ancient sage immediately rushed into the chaotic divine sea, wanting to know who was undergoing tribulation. The chaotic divine sea was a boundless divine sea in the chaotic divine soil. This divine sea hid most of the remnants of chaos in the entire chaotic divine soil. Roar! Just as the heavenly tribulation was triggered, earth-shattering beast roars came from the surroundings of the small island. A mountain-sized remnant of chaos was enraged. Someone actually dared to trigger a sage heavenly tribulation right under its nose. It was really courting death. However, the remnant of chaos didn't dare to attack. Instead, it directly retreated into the distance. It was already too late to attack now. Even if it could kill the ant on the small island, it would be tainted by the power of the heavenly tribulation. In this part of the sea, other remnants of chaos were alarmed and had no choice but to retreat. Boom! A dazzling bolt of lightning cut through the void and landed on the small island. With just one strike, the entire island turned into ashes and disappeared. There are actually 2 people undergoing tribulation at the same time. The movement of the sage heavenly tribulation was too great. Even in the depths of the chaotic divine sea, the waves of the heavenly tribulation reached the primal chaos mainland. Everyone was dumbfounded. Someone actually wants to fight with me for the opportunity to become a sage first. Chapter 2205. The opportunity to become a saint was very important. After all, there could only be one saint in a generation. In other words, as long as someone became a saint in this generation, no one else could become a saint. However, this generation was full of variables, and no one knew what would happen. Rumble! The great path of heaven and earth rumbled, and streaks of dazzling lightning lit up the dark world. With the valley as the center, the chaotic mist within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles was dispersed. Above the pitch-black sky, an unprecedentedly powerful heavenly might descended. The heavenly way would sense any living being that wanted to challenge the heavenly way, and send down the most powerful heavenly tribulation in the world to punish those who dared to offend the heavenly way. Of course, although the heavenly tribulation of a saint was terrifying, there was still a chance of survival. In particular, those who became a saint through sheer strength could use their extremely powerful strength to break through the restraints of the great path of heaven and earth and become a saint. Becoming a saint through sheer strength was the most difficult of all the paths to becoming a saint. However, If one could reach the end of the most difficult path, their achievements would be limitless. This was the path that Gu Fei was taking. If he could successfully become a saint, he would be much more powerful than ordinary saints. What's going on? Why do I sense a familiar aura? At this moment, He Tian had already arrived nearby. He stared at the valley in front of him, and activated the yin-yang divine eye, wanting to see into the valley. However, he realized that no matter how he activated the yin-yang divine eye, he still could not see the appearance of the person who had triggered the heavenly tribulation in the valley. There seemed to be a chaotic void evolving in the valley, and it was difficult for any divine will or divine eye to see what was inside. Who is it? Why do I have this feeling? He Tian's expression was extremely solemn at this moment. The person who had triggered the heavenly tribulation of a saint in the valley should be someone he knew, but he could not recall who that person was at the moment. In fact, it was no wonder that He Tian could not recognize Gu Fei at the moment. After all, Gu Fei's aura had changed fundamentally from when he was on the soaring dragon ancestral star. Buzz! Just as He Tian was feeling bewildered, a sword chime was heard. Could it be? At that moment, He Tian's eyes widened in disbelief. It's you! While He Tian was still in shock, a voice suddenly came from the side. He Tian turned to look in the direction of the voice, and he saw that a burly young man was already standing less than 300 meters away from him. This person's entire body was filled with mighty dragon qi, and there were vague dragon shadows in the void around him. His entire person was like an ancient fierce dragon, giving off a strong sense of oppression. Azure Dragon. He Tian's pupils shrank when he saw the young man. This young man was the current Azure Dragon of the soaring dragon ancestral star, one of the 4 ancient clans of the southern wilderness. Where is Gu Fei? Azure Dragon asked directly. Back then, he had been defeated by Gu Fei and nearly lost the title of the Azure Dragon tribe. However, this was not necessarily a bad thing for the Azure Dragon tribe. Now, the Azure Dragon had truly grown up and had the ability to break through to the saint level. Why are you looking for him? Do you want to be defeated again? He Tian looked at Azure Dragon and suddenly said with a smile. This time, he will be the only one who will be defeated. Azure Dragon was very confident. After experiencing so many things, his entire temperament had changed, and he gave off a sense of calmness. Haha, if I say that the person in the valley ahead is the one you are looking for, would you believe me? He Tian said. What? When the Azure Dragon heard this, his sword-like eyebrows immediately erected as a glint flashed across his eyes. What you said is true, Azure Dragon said in a deep voice. He looked at the valley ahead and saw the divine light of the great path flickering in the valley. Within the chaotic aura, he could vaguely see 9 Tao patterns faintly appearing. It seems that you are destined to be no match for Guda, He Tian said to Azure Dragon with a smile. At this moment, the expression on Azure Dragon's face was extremely complicated. It could be said that Gu Fei was a shadow in his heart. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never tasted defeat. However, when he encountered Gu Fei, he was defeated. Even with Azure Dragon's current state of mind, he had already forgotten the battle back then. However, deep in his heart, he still yearned to fight against Gu Fei. Humph! Azure Dragon did not say anything else. He turned around and quickly disappeared into the dark sky. Boom! Not long after the Azure Dragon left, a bolt of lightning suddenly pierced through the dark void, directly striking down from the sky towards the valley below. A destructive aura that made even the saints' hearts palpitate immediately spread. It's about to begin. He Tian calmly retreated into the distance. The other human geniuses also retreated and did not dare to get too close. Many people did not think that the person in the valley would win. After all, the tribulation of a saint was not an ordinary tribulation. The person who failed the tribulation before was an example. Therefore, many people were not worried. It was possible to become a saint in the chaotic divine soil, and would not be affected by the outside world. However, whether or not one could become a saint depended on one's cultivation and luck. Chapter 2206. In the valley, Gu Fei was undergoing his heavenly tribulation. He had encountered the most powerful and dangerous heavenly tribulation he had ever encountered. A sage was a high and mighty existence that could even trample on the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao was in danger, and the heavenly tribulation that descended was absolutely terrifying. Bolts of lightning that were larger than mountains descended from the sky and struck the valley. These bolts of lightning brought with them a destructive power that could destroy everything. If one were to undergo the heavenly tribulation in the human realm, the entire ancestral planet would probably be affected. Fortunately, the chaotic divine soil was extremely stable. Even a true sage would not be able to destroy this piece of divine soil. The heavenly tribulation of a sage was having a limited effect on the chaotic divine soil. Just as Gu Fei was undergoing his heavenly tribulation, someone else was also undergoing his heavenly tribulation in the depths of the chaotic divine sea. Someone was trying to break through to the sage level, and the heavenly tribulation that this person triggered was incomparably vast. It was just the beginning of the heavenly tribulation, but it had already turned the small island that the person was on into ashes. Towering waves were set off in the sea within a radius of thousands of miles. The power of the great Tao was vast, and within the heavenly tribulation, there was an incomparably strong vitality that came out. That person did not die, and was still fighting against the heaven realm. However, compared to Gu Fei, this person was much more cautious. He did not dare to face the heavenly tribulation head-on like Gu Fei. Amidst the lightning, countless inscriptions intertwined to form a light screen, blocking all the lightning that came crashing down from the sky. A vortex appeared on the light screen, dissipating all the power of the lightning that came crashing down. This was a method to resolve the heavenly tribulation. By dispelling the power of the heavenly tribulation, there was no need to face it head-on. By doing this, one could preserve their vitality to deal with the next heavenly tribulation. This method of preserving strength was used by most cultivators to undergo the heavenly tribulation. However, Gu Fei took a different path. The path that he took determined his character. The stronger he met, the stronger he became, even when facing the heavenly tribulation. In a valley tens of millions of miles away from the chaotic divine sea, a huge blood cocoon was flickering like a huge beating heart. 9 primordial chaos Tao patterns were imprinted in the void around the blood cocoon, interweaving into a mysterious pattern. All the lightning that descended from the sky was blocked by the 9 Tao patterns. A sword light floated high in the sky. Bolts of lightning struck it. Although the sword light dimmed, the inside of the divine sword was still nurturing a life force. Bathed in the tribulation lightning, the 9 heaven star swords started to change. This was a transformation, as if a life was being nurtured. It was very mystical. The 9 heaven star sword was transforming into a sacred artifact. And in the valley below, inside the blood cocoon, Gu Fei's muscles, bones, and flesh were regenerating. Every drop of blood was emitting chaotic divine light, and there seemed to be Tao patterns faintly visible within them. This was a type of complete transformation. Every drop of blood, and even every strand of hair, contained Tao force. It could achieve immortality. This was a divine body. Of course, Gu Fei's martial body had not truly transformed into a divine body, but it was in the process of transforming into a divine body. At this moment, Gu Fei finally understood why sages were indestructible, and how difficult it was to kill a sage. This was because every drop of blood, every piece of flesh, and every piece of flesh on a sage's body had been branded with the mark of life. This was no longer a simple rebirth of flesh and blood. Even the flesh and blood were life. Even if they were blasted into pieces, with only a drop of blood or a strand of hair left, they could still be reborn. Unless all of the mark of life of a saint was completely erased, then a saint could truly be killed. However, people who had this kind of method were probably already at the peak of the saints. Only existences like Renhuang or celestial venerables could kill saints. The original 9 Tao patterns were constantly imprinted into Gu Fei's muscles, bones, and flesh. The divine light was vast, and the power of the divine path was washing his martial body. Soon, Gu Fei's martial body was completely reconstructed. His entire body shone with boundless light of the great path, and the blurry 9 Tao patterns began to become clear. This was the sign of becoming a saint. Gu Fei had already understood the 9 Tao patterns, which had already paved the way for him to become a saint. At this time, he had finally shaken the shackles of his cultivation. The blood-colored cocoon silently turned into ashes, and a powerful figure appeared in the valley. Virum. A sword chime was heard, and the 9th heaven star's sword in the sky let out a vibrating sound. It turned into a beam of sword light and fell from the sky, landing in Gu Fei's hand. Old friend. Gu Fei caressed the 9th heaven star's sword. He suddenly felt a connection with the divine sword in his hand. Haha, very good. Then let us challenge the heavens together and fight our way out. Gu Fei laughed out loud. He was full of confidence. He pointed the sword at the sky, and divine light shot out of his eyes. It was dozens of feet long, and a powerful battle intent exploded from his body. Boom, 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 the heavens seemed to be angry. There was a thunderous sound in the sky, as if it was venting its anger. A small creature actually dared to offend the power of the heavens. This, 1,000 miles away from the valley, Haitian was extremely shocked. The destructive power that came from the sky was too strong, and it seemed to be much stronger than the heavenly tribulation of ordinary saints. Gu Fei. In another region, the azure dragon looked in the direction of the valley where Gu Fei was. He looked a little upset. If Gu Fei could successfully pass the heavenly tribulation, then he would never have a chance to defeat Gu Fei. If one did not become a saint, he was an ant. How could an ant challenge a giant dragon? This person is extraordinary. He might really succeed. An old voice muttered to himself. Not everyone was willing to see someone become a saint in front of them, because once someone else became a saint, they would not have a chance anymore. However, these people were still watching and waiting. There were people passing the heavenly tribulation in 2 places at the same time. Almost all the creatures that entered the chaotic divine soil were shocked. Even the local creatures were extremely shocked. The supreme bloodline of their ancestors flowed in the bodies of the descendants of the chaotic divine soil. They were extremely powerful. Since ancient times, countless people had entered the chaotic divine soil in search of an opportunity to become a saint. The geniuses of the human world were no longer geniuses after entering the chaotic divine soil. They had to face the descendants of the chaotic divine soil. In every generation, more than half of the geniuses who entered the chaotic divine soil would die. The remaining ones could leave alive, but they might not become saints. The chances of becoming a saint were very slim. In the previous generation, no one had become a saint at all. In this generation, however, someone was about to break through to the saint level. At this moment, the tribulation cloud in the sky had already pressed down. Boom! With an earth-shattering sound, a new round of the heavenly tribulation was finally launched. That is, at this moment, everyone was shocked to find that there was no tribulation lightning in the tribulation cloud. Instead, a giant beast rushed out. It was a giant beast that was completely formed by lightning. An ancient lightning devourer beast! Some of the old antiques were shocked to the extreme. The giant beast had a single horn on its head. It was as big as a mountain ridge, and its entire body was radiating millions of lightning bolts. An extremely terrifying wave of destruction spread out, shaking the entire world. It was hard to imagine that the heavenly tribulation had actually evolved into such a powerful divine beast. The ancient lightning devourer beast was a legendary divine beast born from the chaotic sea of lightning. It was born with the ability to devour lightning, and wherever it went, all life would be annihilated. The powerful tribulation lightning could turn all life into ashes. How could something like this appear? Someone muttered in disbelief. The power of the heavenly tribulation had actually transformed into an ancient beast. It was truly shocking. Could it be that the person in the valley had to defeat this beast in order to survive? Yeah. At this moment, Gu Fei, who was standing proudly in the valley, couldn't help but be stunned when he saw this scene. However, he immediately soared into the sky and charged at the beast that was swooping down from the sky. Kill! Wielding the 9 heaven star sword, Gu Fei charged straight into the sea of lightning. Roar! the lightning devourer beast roared. Boundless lightning bolts spread out, covering half the world. No one could see what was happening within the lightning bolts. All they could see was a figure charging out from the valley. It's really the ancient great. By now, He Tian no longer had any doubts. The person who had charged into the sea of lightning was none other than Gu Fei. Other than the soaring dragon ancestral star, there should be other entrances to the chaotic divine soil. One must know that the chaotic divine soil was known to connect the 3 worlds and 6 paths. In other words, as long as the chaotic divine soil was born, even people from the heaven realm would be able to enter this place. At this moment, Gu Fei was already engaged in a fierce battle with the terrifying ancient lightning devourer beast. Roar! The lightning devourer beast opened its mouth and roared, spitting out an incomparably powerful tribulation lightning. It directly blasted Gu Fei away. Streaks of lightning circled around his body, and his hair was emitting black smoke. A trace of blood seeped out from the corner of Gu Fei's mouth. A single strike from the lightning devourer beast was enough to injure him. Of course, such an injury was nothing to Gu Fei. With just a thought, Gu Fei's injured body recovered. Buzz! The divine sword in Gu Fei's hand was vibrating. Roar! With a roar, he gripped the divine sword tightly with both hands and slashed at the lightning devourer beast with all his might. A dazzling swordlight rushed out from Gu Fei's hand, tearing the sky and earth apart. The entire sea of lightning was split into 2, and the swordlight ruthlessly struck the head of the lightning devourer beast. Boom! Just as Gu Fei's sword struck the lightning devourer beast's head, the horn of the lightning devourer beast suddenly emitted a blinding electric light that was as bright as the sun. It was a ball of lightning. The ball of lightning directly shattered Gu Fei's swordlight and smashed towards Gu Fei. A terrifying destructive force spread out from the ball of lightning. The force was so strong that even Gu Fei felt that his life was in danger. Kill! Chapter 2207. The ancient divine beast was extremely powerful. Although it wasn't the real lightning-devouring beast, the heavenly Tao's lightning-devouring beast was still extremely powerful. In the endless sea of lightning, Gu Fei and the lightning-devouring beast fought endlessly. At the beginning, he was suppressed by the lightning-devouring beast. But soon, he discovered that the lightning-devouring beast's strength wasn't much different from his own. It wasn't an invincible existence. This was the heavenly Tao. It left a trace of hope for Gu Fei, but it wouldn't really destroy him. Even so, if it was someone else, they would have already given up all hope. One must know that the ancient lightning-devouring beast was a supreme innate divine beast. Even the heavenly Tao had left a mark on it. It was enough to show how powerful this divine beast was. The heavenly Tao sensed Gu Fei's heavenly tribulation and naturally sent down the most powerful heavenly tribulation. It wasn't a coincidence that the heavenly tribulation condensed into the lightning-devouring beast. Kill! Gu Fei fought like a madman. Every time the 9 heaven stars sword in his hand slashed out, a dazzling sword light would rush out and soar into the sky. The endless lightning was destroyed by his sword. However, the lightning-devouring beast was just a phantom formed by the heavenly tribulation. It wasn't the real body. No matter how fierce Gu Fei's attack was, it was still difficult for him to destroy the phantom. Bang! Gu Fei was sent flying by the lightning-devouring beast again. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His body was surrounded by lightning. The lightning brought with it a destructive power, causing him to feel numb. Although he was sent flying by the lightning-devouring beast, Gu Fei could clearly see that there was a mark on the head of the lightning-devouring beast. It was a smaller lightning-devouring beast. If he wanted to defeat the lightning-devouring beast, he first had to find the mark. Only by destroying the mark, the lightning-devouring beast would naturally disappear. Roar! The lightning-devouring beast roared and chased after Gu Fei. The entire sea of lightning shook, and the destructive power rose to an unprecedented level. Very well, then let's decide life and death with one strike. Gu Fei steadied himself in the sea of lightning. His entire body radiated chaotic divine light, and a purple divine light surged out from between his eyebrows, containing a powerful spiritual energy. Kill! Gu Fei roared angrily. His long hair danced wildly in the wind, and his eyes were filled with madness. His battle intent was boundless. Even in the face of the sage heavenly tribulation, he still pressed forward. Boom! A world-shaking collision broke out. Gu Fei was like a chaotic divine sun as he collided with the lightning-devouring beast that was radiating a myriad of lightning bolts. Chaotic chi and lightning shook the entire Thundersea. Pitch-black spatial cracks appeared, and even the chaotic divine soil, which was extremely stable, was shattered by this power. Of course, this level of destruction would not affect the chaotic divine soil. Is this person stupid? He actually dares to fight against the heavenly tribulation head-on, someone exclaimed. Although some of them could not see what was happening in the Thundersea, they could tell that the person undergoing the heavenly tribulation had most likely chosen a different method. Do you want to prove your Tao through strength? An old voice was heard. Prove my Tao through strength. Everyone was extremely astonished. This was the most difficult path to becoming a sage. In the primordial times, only the martial ancestor had created such a path to becoming a sage. There were also body-tempering techniques in Buddhism and Taoism, but these techniques were fundamentally inseparable from the mysteries of Buddhism and Taoism. However, the cultivation method created by the martial ancestor was a complete path to prove one's Tao through strength. Those who chose this path were destined to pay more than other paths. Ever since the martial ancestor's lineage disappeared, the path to prove one's Tao through strength had been lost. No one was willing to try it. Now, someone had chosen this path. How could the crowd not be shocked? Rumble! The chaotic chi in the Thundersea was vast and mighty. Lightning tore the sky and earth apart, crushing and destroying everything. It was extremely terrifying. A figure flew out from the primal chaos chi and lightning. Beads of blood dripped from the sky. The person who flew out was Gu Fei. At this moment, Gu Fei was extremely miserable. He fell from the sky towards the valley below. His insanely strong martial body was charred and his vitality was extremely weak. Bang! Gu Fei smashed into the valley and smashed into the ground, creating a human-shaped pit. At the same time, the lightning in the sky dissipated. A one-horned beast stood in the middle of the Thundersea, and the sound of something shattering could be heard. The heaven-devouring beast that was formed from lightning was dissipating. A brand on the heaven-devouring beast's head cracked and then disappeared. The entire heaven-devouring beast gradually dimmed and finally disappeared in the void. The terrifying heavenly tribulation disappeared. He actually survived it, someone exclaimed. Everyone was in disbelief. To think that someone who took on the heavenly tribulation of a sage didn't die under it. This was a miracle. Gu De is ferocious indeed. Up in the sky, He Tian couldn't help but exclaim when he saw this. It was way too difficult to cultivate one's Tao through strength. But now, there was finally someone who used such a method to pass the heavenly tribulation. However, the heavenly tribulation didn't dissipate. Gu Fei was still in danger. He had only blocked this wave of the heavenly tribulation, and no one knew what would happen next. I'm so tired. Within the valley, Gu Fei's voice came from the human-shaped pit on the ground. Even though he had suffered unimaginable damage, as long as his martial body had a strand of vitality, he would be able to recover in a short period of time. The Ascension secret art of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao was the legendary undying godly art. Even if one's soul was scattered, they could reassemble it, and wouldn't die. Gu Fei used the Ascension secret art, and the strand of vitality in his body quickly grew stronger. In the end, the life force coming from his body was so strong that it shocked everyone. What a strong life force! Someone said something like that. For Gu Fei, there wasn't much power he could really use during the heavenly tribulation. He only had the 9 heavenly stars sword and the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao. Gu Fei didn't plan on using the extreme divine weapon in his hands unless he was in a life or death situation. Bang! A part of the ground in the valley suddenly exploded, and Gu Fei rushed out from the ground. The charred parts of his body had already fallen off, revealing his sparkling white skin. Again, Gu Fei looked up and pointed his sword at the heavens. At this time, Gu Fei suddenly felt a wave of irritation. What's going on? Gu Fei abruptly came to his senses. It was as if a mysterious force had taken effect on his body. This was a force that could induce inner demons. This is the legendary inner demon tribulation. Gu Fei's eyes lit up. He immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and channeled his Xian Qi to fight against the mysterious power in the unseen world. Legend has it that the inner demon tribulation was extremely dangerous. Since ancient times, many people had fallen to this inner demon tribulation and turned into war demons, killing in all directions. Soon, beads of sweat the size of soybeans appeared on Gu Fei's forehead. The expression on his face kept changing. This heavenly tribulation was really hard to guard against. At this time, Gu Fei had already fallen into a dangerous illusion. Just as Gu Fei triggered the inner demon tribulation, in the depths of the chaos divine sea, another person undergoing the heavenly tribulation was also facing the most terrifying change of the sage tribulation. An almost transparent divine fire descended from the heavens. This was the legendary tribulation fire. The appearance of the tribulation fire definitely wasn't a legend, but something that really happened. When the tribulation fire descended, the seawater within a radius of dozens of miles was directly evaporated. In some places, even the seabed emerged. Roar! Someone roared in the sea of fire. It was the person undergoing the heavenly tribulation. The tribulation fire burned on his body, and he was in extreme pain. That person stood in the sea of fire, his body trembling. Only by surviving this could he ascend to the extreme and become an invincible sage. In the depths of the chaos divine sea, many powerful existences found the place where this person was undergoing the heavenly tribulation. They were all watching, and no one dared to approach casually, afraid that they would be contaminated by the power of the tribulation fire. At this time, the two people undergoing the heavenly tribulation were at the juncture of life and death. The power of the tribulation fire was definitely not inferior to Gu Fei's inner demon tribulation. Gu Fei had experienced too many things along the way. All sorts of illusions could not truly make him lose his mind, because his Tao heart was extremely firm. Soon, Gu Fei broke through the inner demon tribulation and used the essence soul Tao sword to destroy the demonic nature in his heart. Rumble! Just as Gu Fei broke through the inner demon tribulation, thunder sounded in the sky again. This time, 3 figures walked out from the depths of the sky. What? Gu Fei almost jumped up from the ground when he saw the 3 figures. He was so shocked that he couldn't be any more shocked. These 3 figures were completely formed by lightning. Among these 3 figures, one was a bald monk, and the other 2 seemed to be supreme existences that had appeared in ancient times. Do you still want me to live? Gu Fei was also dumbfounded. He felt the aura of a supreme being. These were the imprints left behind by the 3 supreme beings in the heavenly Tao before they became sages. Boom! The bald monk blasted a palm at Gu Fei. The golden palm slammed down from the sky like a huge mountain. Everyone who saw this scene was extremely shocked. Buzz! Gu Fei shook the 9 heaven stars sword in his hand and raised his hand to slash out an incomparably resplendent chaos sword flash. The chilling sword chi spread out, causing the surrounding temperature to drop. The chaos sword flash collided with the golden Buddha palm that slammed down from the sky. A powerful force came crashing down, causing the ground to sink. The huge golden hand destroyed the primal chaos sword light that Gu Fei had slashed out with ease, and then slapped Gu Fei into the ground with a single slap.